Hi, so I'm Stats.
What's up, stats? I'm Lactoid. What's up?
You are my favorite shitty libertarian dork on the internet. And
Good
I
shit.
think in every conversation we have, I think I bring you closer out of the closet of terrible shitty libertarianism and out into the light of like libertarian socialism.
We'll see.
You just need to let go of your earthly connections to stupidity and dumb racist white people. Embrace
We'll see.
the beauty of like
The beauty of socialism, huh?
socialism. It's whatever. Like if Bernie Sanders wins, it's never gonna be socialism. It's gonna be called Sandersism. That's gonna affect the next 1,000 years of history.
It's
If
true.
it's Ocasio Cortez, it's gonna be Cortezism, which like Mexico. But hey,
What do you think about Ocasio-Cortez? Do you like her?
he is the voice of a generation. Is she the greatest person ever? No, but like she's a reflection of that. In the same way Donald Trump is like the avatar for like exactly a certain kind of age and demographic of the American people.
Sure. Yeah, I
So
can see that.
I mean, I think you know my real name, and I know, and I don't know your real name, but I saw your YouTube video, like,
You know me well. Yeah.
but like you, but like fundamentally, like there's a certain flavor of existentially weird young white men, and you kind of look like that. You don't look like miserable, but like you just like you look like it. You look a bit little like if your girlfriend breaks up with you and you have to go have a bad couple of years, you might show up at school.
Sure.
Something like that.
I mean, I do have a manifesto that doesn't look good. I agree.
Yes, I forgot about your manifesto.
But no, it doesn't include shooting up schools, thankfully. That's not something that I'm.
For now.
Yeah, I don't have a
God,
penchant for that. No, not a
we
fan.
know how long have we known each other, Lecter? Like a year now on DGG.
It feels like it's been a
We're,
year. Yeah, but it's
we're
probably.
talking. You say the word manifesto. Like how many school shootings have happened since we've known each other? Oh,
I'll start using the word. I think pamphlet is probably a better word to use.
hey, that's our word. Lecter pamphlets. That's our word. Left
Yeah,
wing.
yeah.
So yeah. So to the people on DGG who might hear this, like you might know stats and lactoid for our various debates on like versus quote social libertarian socialism or something like that. Yeah, the DGG.
Yeah. Can you lower your mic sensitivity a little bit? So, but like every 10 words or so you cut out. It's no
How
big
about now?
deal. That's better, yeah. I think at least I hope it'll be better.
Cool.
So what was that
So,
dude's name? What's his name?
so Obi, in my opinion, is the actually most famous crazy person I know in DGG.
Okay.
Like, so you're an Obi specialist. So I think this is like a great example of how like weird the internet is because like it allows all the ideas in the marketplace ideas, including a Danish nationalist.
Oh, I think I've talked to this guy before.
Yes,
Did he
he's a
get
Danish
banned?
nationalist.
Is he?
Yes, he
Yeah.
got banned for ban evading and such.
Yeah, I know Iron was also, he was like a Canadian nationalist and he got banned too.
I love it when like people nationals from like really dumb countries get banned. Like, at least if you're a Chinese nationalist, you can like point to things your country has done. Like, I'm a Canadian nationalist. It's like, okay, so what has your country done?
Oh shit.
And like the Native Americans, like, well, congratulations.
I mean, they got healthcare, right? You guys are all about that. You
Uh,
socialists, right?
yeah, yeah. Nothing like any country can get healthcare. Like fucking Chad has healthcare.
For sure.
It's almost like it's a doable thing that any state should provide for its citizenry to provide for the general welfare and all that good shit.
General welfare,
I like streets,
like streets.
public parks,
You're triggering me, stats. You gotta tone down on the.
driver's license,
Oh
driver's license
no! What's next? Toaster licenses? You don't know, man. It's gonna happen.
is the cost of civilization.
So tell me, stats. What made you come up with your name?
Stats.
You like stats, huh?
I think tragically, he, most things can be calculated down to a number,
Hmm.
and then we can assign that number value and compare that number to other things.
Okay.
academic background, quote unquote, I guess would be, is I'm a data scientist focused on using analytics to observe how location data affects things. So GIS and Esri, for the people who know that. But half the time, I'm more trying to figure out, like, statistically speaking, what tweet or Facebook post gets more up votes and such of a modern statistician. Although I use computers nowadays, so I guess I'm more of a computer scientist.
Damn.
How'd you, how'd you get your name? Big fan of lactoids?
No, so when I was 11 years old, back when the good old days of RuneScape,
Um,
yeah, so my first RuneScape name I named after my cat. But
oh,
after like a while, I wanted to create an alternate account, and so I didn't know what to name my alternate account. But I was walking around all day in school, just like repeating to myself like lactoid. For some reason, like that word had stuck in my head. And then I don't know why, but then I got home and I was like lactoid, and then I made a RuneScape account named Lactoid, and I was blown away because I didn't actually have to put any numbers after it. And if everyone remembers the good old days of RuneScape, every name that you made had to have a bunch of numbers after it because it was all taken. But Lactoid wasn't. Apparently, nobody else had thought of the wonderful name of Lactoid. Um, so I named my account Lactoid, and I also found out that like every gaming account after that, whenever I picked Lactoid, I didn't have to put any numbers after it. So it was always available. Nobody else had that name. So I decided that this would be my online identity. I would embrace Lactoid. Um, yeah, and until recently, it was only relevant in games. But ever since I joined DGG with the rest of the heathens, I've been definitely applying it to the political realm as well.
it's kind of interesting when you think about, like, how, like, you've used lactoid almost like as essentially like this is your identity on
Yeah.
the internet in a
Oh yeah.
sense. Like, if mm, I don't know where you walk in your free time. Let's say if you're walking from, I think, from like law school to home or whatever like that. And if I
Sure.
showed, hey, lactoid, would you turn around? You think?
Yeah, definitely. No, absolutely, right? Because I mean, think about it, right? In every game, you know, countless hours of StarCraft, of Counter Strike, of back in the day, Combat Arms, guns, all those games, right? I mean, I always went by the same name. So at this point, um, I think yeah, your online identity kind of takes the same role as your identity, and I think that yeah, I think it's a name that I would be able to hear out of a crowd, very much like your real name, right? If it was a busy crowd and somebody said the word lactoid, I would immediately take notice, and I would you know try to investigate to see does this person actually know me from some online encounter that I wasn't aware of. I mean, it very well could be. I don't know.
Fascinating to me because I consistently change my name on pretty much every platform
Sure.
I go to. Like, I will, like, for a while there was this Discord name had, or the original Discord name I had was kind of similar to a Reddit name, but I've changed those consistently. Xbox account had a completely different name. My Steam account's a different name. My WoW character had a different name.
Sure.
Like, I found
Did you play a
immense
lot?
joy in a flexibility of identity. It's like that.
Did you play a lot of WoW?
Like, only for like a summer, for like
Sure.
with a friend.
Sure.
It's kind of a weird thing actually. Whenever I think about that WoW counter, I look back and I'm like, I should have really known I was a lot more flexible in my gender identity because, like, I really enjoyed playing like
The female characters?
non-traditional. Well, no, I was gonna say like non-traditional male characters, but yes, I enjoy playing the various female characters like that. I actually had the entertaining experience of people who like giving me items because I was playing as a female character and it's like that.
Sure. I I I had a RuneScape girlfriend back in the day as well. I think she was my RuneScape girlfriend for like 3 days, and she or I really don't know who was at the other end of that computer, right? But whoever they were kept misspelling my name, or it's not sorry, kept misspelling the word sweetie, and would spell it sweaty. And so after every time,
That's beautiful.
yeah, after every request, it was always thanks, sweaty, and no, it was pretty fucked. But
What were you?
what was I? Well, how old was I?
Were you when you had a RuneScape girlfriend?
I was like 12, maybe 11,
Oh,
12.
man, look at 12-year-old lactoid hanging up with e-girls.
Yeah, I think it was just to get some of my gold or whatever, but I didn't give away too much.
Oh, I'm gonna have my most like Dave Rubin moment, but like you have to wonder. It's like you ever wonder like how much money is spent in like, or how many people in like pornography, or like who are watching pornography are like underage.
Hmm. Yeah.
I always wonder like whenever I'm talking in like a live room or room, it's just like I wonder how many people here are like underage or like super young. Like I remember like randomly like in playing Fortnite with a friend, and for some reason I played his system. He was playing Switch, and it was nothing but like children who were like pre-verbal, basically playing Fortnite, and it just made me think like, holy shit,
Yeah. That's the worst.
right? So they're gonna turn all these 11-year-olds into like just or who are gonna be fully integrated with the drones and shit like that.
Fun
We are
shit.
training children nothing on our 12-year-olds fully integrated into our Twitter accounts and our military drones. Military drones will floss on their corpses after shooting them with missiles.
Very much so. But
Right.
did you hear about the after our drone got shot down over Iran, that the planes were in the air, like ready to bomb Iran before Trump called them back.
I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about how close we are to
That was
nuclear war.
close. That was
Yeah,
really close.
yeah.
That was as close as it can
And
get.
again, because he was called the R word by the Ayatollah, by not the Ayatollah, by the leader of Iran.
Hmm.
Like, man, I was willing to go to war so people to prevent people from saying the R word. Truly a great moderator.
For sure. So stats. How about you talk about a little bit about your political evolution? Where did you start out
So,
as?
so I started as a Marxist Leninist, and then
Uh, I did
no,
too.
no,
I
no,
did too.
no.
I did too, man. We were both
Well,
there.
well, see, you're the perfect example of like you're like a classic Republican. Like you start out like as a commie, then you realize like, well, you can't actually do the things you want to do. So you just like, well, I want the personal ability to oppress people, like the Stalinists. I secretly am.
Hmm.
So that's why you became a conservative, and then you're like, well, conservatism isn't cool. I'm a white man. I better be a libertarian just so I can be like, freedom, man.
I don't know. I think I shifted. How I shifted was from Marxist Leninist, or sorry, from more of like a socialist, like a light socialist, to a Marxist Leninist, to and then like I slowly started getting more libertarian, and only recently I would say on some opinions like more conservative as well. But
Really, how have you gone more conservative? Like I would swear in our conversations the past year, like I got you to be a little bit more accepting. Like didn't you weren't you a Bernie guy in 2016, 2015?
yeah, no, I voted for Bernie in the primary. But I
And
mean,
again in the primary?
what's up? No,
Were- No?
I don't think so. I'm voting for Andrew Yang in
Oh
the primary.
God.
Yeah,
Oh God. Oh God. Go back
Yang
to the original. Oh
gang,
God. Oh
Yang
God.
gang. And if Yang drops out, I guess I'd vote for Tulsi Gabbard then, just because of her stance on the wars and
Oh
Syrian
my
wars
God.
specifically.
Oh
And then
my
if she
God.
drops out, I don't fucking care at that point.
How do your politics are terrible.
Why?
How
What's
do you
wrong with
even
Yang Gang? He's giving away free money. I thought you guys liked that shit.
So the problem with UBI is he's just going to tax it out of your hands. Like literally, like if I own the building you live in, Lactoid, and I'm like, oh, the government's giving Lactoid a grant, I will increase rent by $900, and I guarantee you, every landlord will increase rent by about that same amount also because universal basic income doesn't work as a anti-poverty measure. At best, it works as a economic driver for like purchases. At worst, it fundamentally just is the people who own property so they can collect more money in rent. Like further, like his tax proposal thing, I forget what's called, would just it would basically just be a regressive tax that would tax all purchases so much that they
Oh, the
that
VAT,
all the
the
yeah the
VAT,
VAT
yeah.
VATs are terrible. Like like this is why like you can always this is why I hate Europeans. They think VATs are cool. It's like really it's like all you have is it's just a regressive tax on poor people.
I
The only
mean,
thing that's uniquely good at is it's good at taxing tourists. Like that's a good way to tax tourists if uniquely, but outside of that,
I mean,
most VATs are pretty bad from my understanding of the literature.
sure. I mean, I watched Yang on Joe Rogan's podcast, and
Oh,
I thought
that explains so much about you.
I thought Yang was, he's really down to earth. He was very bright. Um, he didn't come at things in an unrealistic opinion. He justified everything that he said, not with emotion, but with logic, right?
With facts
With
and
with
logic.
facts and logic. Now, I might disagree with him about
Logic.
some of his logical uh, deductions, but at least I think he's on the right track in terms of the way he thinks. I also think that compared to the rest of them, he's not insane, right? He's
Wait a minute. The reason you're pro $1,000 because like you think giving money to people will improve their material conditions, correct?
no. So I think that it could be as
Okay.
a pragmatic measure, it could be useful because so the way he talks about it, and he brought this up in the Joe Rogan podcast, which I thought was great. He said that the thing about um, the thing about welfare is that when you very small percent, like a relatively small percentage of the money that actually goes in, actually gets to the hands of the people that need it, right? A very large amount of money goes
That's a
into
lie.
what?
That's a lie.
No, 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 no. It's not a lie. A large percentage of the money goes to the bureaucracy that runs it, right? So a lot of care, like a lot of staff that determines like the aid that everybody should get, keeps track of that. Um, service work, social workers, stuff like a lot of this costs a lot of money, right? What he's saying is that he wants to wean people off of that by giving people $1,000 per month, and by just if you just give it to them, you don't have to worry about all the overhead that goes along with distributing welfare, right? And so he's going to have it as like an opt-in, where if you opt into the universal basic income, then you're not eligible for any other welfare programs. But if you don't have to opt in right away if you don't want to, and you
No,
can
no,
and
wait a
you
minute. I'm looking at an article about this right now. Like the reason this happened was because of the welfare reforms that Bill Clinton did. That pretty much everyone with two brain cells agrees was terrible. Like all it did was give it out to block grants to the state. Most welfare spending gets spent on staff because most states can use that staff for other things besides investing into people.
well, I don't know. I don't know if I would say most of it. I know that a very large percentage of the welfare money goes
I'm
to
looking
staff and bureaucracy.
at it right now in a 538 article. The vast majority of it has happened because of it going to block grants, which the states can then basically like use as slosh.
Well, so on the article you're reading, what percentage does it actually say goes to people?
Like
And also, what are you looking at, by the
well,
way?
okay, I'm look here.
Yeah,
I'll
link it to me.
copy here. I'll copy the graph. Just make it simple. A little bit. I'll link the article in a second.
But in general,
I'll
wait.
do that. Like, look, administration costs have decreased.
Send me the link. Send me the link.
Look at the graph right
Wait, no,
there.
send me the link. I want to read what they're saying though. Okay.
Yeah, it's that tax credits have gone up, and stuff like that. The cash assistance programs have been decreased because that was considered like quote that was well changed by welfare reform.
Well, so it doesn't seem to go.
No,
It
look
does
at
go
it.
down.
Administration costs go down. It's like completely defeats your question.
No, 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 no. So I'm not saying. So what I made the claim was a very large percentage of money goes to staff and administration, right?
Less than 10%. What? How? Like what? Like is that not a reasonable amount of money spent on the organizing of this program?
I mean, you could save 10% by not doing that. I'm just 10% seems like a lot of money, but
You
so
know,
this is just TANF, right?
if we just held our breaths, we could save so much energy
Well,
by not breathing.
so this is just TANF. Um I'm
These
curious
things.
and looking at the numbers when it comes to like Social Security, for instance, right? Or like SSDI, because like I know for a fact the amount of litigation that goes into that stuff is just insane, right? And like the litigation costs a lot of money, right? And you have to hire expensive lawyers that do that kind of shit.
No, no, like Black Toy, how are you get such bad politics? You're like almost embarrassing me. I like talking to you, but your politics are like, oh, welfare queens are gonna take all the money,
I'm
basically.
not saying I'm not calling them. No, no, no. I'm not criticizing the people who are using the welfare right now. I mean, I can criticize them later, but right now I'm talking about like the people, like the staff, right? The people who
Okay,
get a job working these administrations, and they kind of like siphon off part of the income
yep, but it shows less than 10%.
for
Like
for
that's like
TANF for TANF, right? There's a lot more than that.
okay, so let's start, like base of
And
2014,
and
California
10%'s a lot.
total welfare spending was $105 million. 45% of that was point 0.9 was cash assistance. The other category. The other category typically involves like specific things like scholarships, investments into like work programs like that. Like hell, even those shitty like Republicans are like, yeah, well, instead of giving the money straight to Pearson, we'll give the money to like Baskin Robbins, then hire someone for a quarter of the money we gave them. Oh, like we need to wean people off of welfare. Like, well, what do you think fundamentally UBI is? It's just welfare by a different name.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the idea is to wean people
And,
off
and
the welfare
like
while having the basically
like
it's a way of getting the money directly to the people, as instead of having it go through this system that siphons off part of it, right?
so do you think not a single penny is going to be spent on like the organizing of this? It's not good. Like there's no organization, no staff required.
A lot less, at least. I mean, I don't think there would be really.
You'll have to track down individual people, keep track of all those people from like a statistical data perspective, to figure out where they live, so you can mail these checks to them apparently, or their bank
No,
accounts at
no,
least.
no. Wait, wait.
That's a lot of work that has to be
No, it's
done.
absolutely not. No, how Yang said he would do it is like he would use it off their tax returns, and they're already mailing in their tax returns.
It's not even a cash benefit. It's a cash rebate.
Yeah, of $1,000. It's a freedom
No,
dividend. It's a freedom dividend,
oh
stats.
god,
That's what he
no.
calls it. It's a freedom dividend.
He's a stupid tech bro. Like he offers nothing. He's never succeeded on a few shitty scholarship programs he attempted. Like he's just a tech bro. Like fundamentally, the only reason people have been talking about UBI is because people like Jeff Bezos, like the CEO of Netflix, have realized, oh, people are so poor they can't afford our products. I need to use my company, which as it dodges taxes, needs to lobby the government to give spending money to people instead of welfare, which could actually benefit and bring them out of poverty. Actually, so they can buy my shitty products. Like that's fundamentally what this is coming from. Like even like people like Scott Galloway are talking about how this is a shitty idea. Like fundamentally, the reality is sometimes spending money is more valuable than just giving it out. Thing is more valuable, giving 100 people $1,000 each, or providing guaranteed education for 4 years to those 100 people. Because the reality is the money saved in like the terms of like bulk purchasing and building of these universities, hiring staff, training people is far more advantageous. Like, well, here's a grant, go fuck yourself.
Well, I don't think that what he's going to do is. I think when he's talking about giving out the $1,000 and letting that be like letting you opt in. I think what he's saying is that would apply to just the individual welfare, like SS, or I guess like or disability, right? SSDI.
The other thing is like fundamentally like all the like, oh, you need to opt out of the other welfare.
Oh
Like
wow.
all the other welfare, like mathematically, is more valuable to people from a pure cash benefit. Like mathematically is more valuable to the average person than Yang's freedom bucks. It's unemployment insurance, all these things. SNAP alone is more worth it, economically speaking, than freedom dollars. All you've done is reinvent a way to say, hey, we cut your benefits. Here's your benefits now. We cut them, and we reduce them. We change the name though.
Wait, so
What have you done?
I'm looking at that. Apparently, less than 1% of it of Social Security taxes goes to pay for administrative costs. But why the hell then does TANF require 10%?
Because TAMP is much more like what's the terminology? It's much more active. Like the same way, like there's some investment policies that are passive, some are active. TAMP is like really active. Like they focus on like childcare and work programs. That's their
Right.
focus. It's passive investment. I think there's a really famous case of TAMP. I don't remember what it was. I think it was they vested specifically in like not trade schools, but something like that, and that turned out to be more valuable. Sometimes I think just fundamentally TAMP is just like the experimental arm of the welfare of the benefits. So yeah, 10% probably is probably mostly R&D, I would bet.
R&D for TANF?
Yeah, when it comes to look, fundamentally, if we think of this in pure economic terms, what is something like TAMP? It's an investment firm. Money into ways to bring up people out of poverty. If it was truly economically more beneficial to give some people $100 a week or $250 a week, instead of some weird tech bro from Silicon Valley. Like the thing I don't get about come on, you should know this. Like you're a lawyer, you should recognize this kind of hucksterism. It's just
Well, wait,
so weird.
wait, just so clear, I'm not a lawyer yet, so this
No,
is
you're right.
yeah, yeah.
You're a legal mind.
For the audience, we have to make sure of that.
So if you're a legal mind, you should surely recognize this is just a total scam. Yang is fundamentally a joke.
I mean, wait.
Everyone who's never met him or heard of him, he's purely a Reuben weird alt-right candidate because they literally the only people that economically benefit from Yang bucks, 4chaners who are NEETs who live with their parents. Literally, if you're 25 to if you're let's say if you're NEET, if you're 18 to 30, your parents are probably paying for your healthcare. You live at home. Sure, $1,000 a month, that can go pretty far because you're literally not paying it for anything. You're paying no taxes. You're working no job.
I mean, I'm working a job.
Yes, but you will probably wouldn't get this. It would probably be more valuable for you to use all the health benefits, all the property benefits. Rather, your state give you $1,000 or invest in paying your teachers and educators so they don't have to charge you as much for your education.
Are you talking about the free college meme or something?
Not sure. Let's just hear. If we're talking about pure economic benefits, what would do you more economic good right now, Lactoid? If your schooling now in the past few years was free, because Bernie Sanders says education will be free, charge Wall Street a small percentage on its income. In exchange, we're going to have millions of more educated Americans with less college debt. Both know you can add up the amount of money you've spent on your education.
Right. So I think for me personally, as obviously a person going through college or having went through undergrad and currently in law school, I think that obviously for me, it'd be more beneficial to have free college. But as a policy, I think that it'd probably be better to have $1,000 per month for everybody.
No, not at all.
If it was a cost the same amount of money, I think it'd be better.
The more people that are educated, increase the GDP of this country. That if we make it free, so essentially it's a non-market good, it's not flexibly priced, then we can force it essentially to increase the quality of our resource that is human capital. The higher quality human capital, the higher quality of GDP they produce. That means more people, more education, less debt. I mean, you and I both know, things educated people in our mid-20s, how many hundreds of people we know who are crippled by debt and can't do what they want to do because they have to go to college. That liberation is far more valuable.
I think
the simple economic goods in a couple grand a month.
I think they I think in Finland they tried a UBI, and it didn't actually get people. It didn't raise the employment rate of the test group, but it did make them happier. Whatever that's worth. I don't know.
If you want to do a UBI, the only time something like a UBI works is specifically when you have students going to university for free and them getting a stipend. So they can go spend it on beer and wine and food and computers and books and video games and etc.
And video games?
No, literally, you can track it down. When the German government started offering stipends to students who were enrolled at Germany's free universities or semi-free universities, I think there's a weird housing thing. They gave all the students a stipend. We're doing well and not fucking up because we'll think if school education's free, what are we gonna do with all these scholarships? Well, probably because nonprofits still want to dodge taxes and do it. They'll probably give those scholarships out as here's a stipend or here's your housing. We'll do imagine imagine instead of since your education was paid for, your housing was subsidized as a student, you want a scholarship for like 5 grand. Well, you'd probably use it to invest into a stipend to do research. Imagine your bill if that scholarship paid for you to go to DC and research a case. Or expand your education would have been as a law student. That's an actual application of money. Mentally, like it's comical to say like, oh, this will improve more material conditions than better for material conditions than free college for all. Like just fundamentally, like whether you're talking from a capitalist perspective or a communist perspective.
Well, but like, I don't know. So I'm thinking, so two things.
But this is where we get into the whole like, I believe in making people free. You believe in making people free to do things. I believe people to be free from debt is more valuable than to be free to put other people's in debt.
Sure. So two quick things. Um, I think if we're talking about like a replacement for welfare, and I mean, I'm looking through things right now, trying to find like for all overall welfare, what is the percentage that like doesn't go to people, or maybe is put on people? Because like, well, one of the things that Yang brought up specifically in his interview was he said that you know a lot of people there's a big issue right now with Social Security disability fraud, or not necessarily fraud.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't.
So his claim is that there's a big issue with this, and that a lot of money is being spent on people that otherwise could work but don't. And he said that, I mean, these people obviously they probably believe that, they don't want to believe that they're defrauding the government. They fully believe that they're disabled and they can't work. And so then they're not going to get a job, because if they do get a job, then they're going to lose their disability benefits.
Okay, so
I don't know if I'm not, because I haven't seen any tests on this particular demographic to see if like that would substantiate his claim. I also want to point out that most people don't go to college, right? And so when we're talking about getting free college, like there's the idea, like, yeah, I guess having a small group of people
why do you think most people don't go to college?
Well, because most people that's honestly,
Can't afford it.
well,
Can't
no,
afford it.
most of the time people don't go to college because it's not for them, right? College is not for everybody.
Okay, let's see, what percentage of people under the age of 30 never attended college?
Even in, hold on, even I bet you this, Germany's got free college, right?
Not free, but basically free. That's essentially the model that stands as the
Right, Sweden free college. Okay, free college it's free in Sweden. Percentage of Swedes who go to college. I know in America it's like 2/3 of people don't go or something.
60, what? No, from people ages, okay, from people 16 to 24, or 74%. Okay, so following that, some 2018, October 2018 data. 71% of people enroll or plan to enroll in college. 1/3 of people don't enroll. Now, this is people out of high school, so this could be people in the military, and further, this could be people who can't afford it. So
Okay. So right now it's 40% of working age Americans now hold a college degree.
Okay, so working age.
Yeah, working age.
Very different. It was different. It was very different to work in America 40 years ago. You and I both know this. The only thing, the ideal number would be to figure out what percentage of Americans who graduated from high school last summer plan to or currently are enrolling in college. And I would bet it would be the vast majority of them. Even if it was only like 55% or 60%, it would still be worth it because the majority of people are planning or want to attend college.
Okay. So
Or like
more people are going to. Do you think it's a good thing that more people are going to college?
Yes. Like,
Why?
and like even if they just become welders, more people educated, more people like you're the one who was talking about like consent and everything like that. Did you tell me? Did you read these in your free time, or did you get your ideas like libertarian philosophy and educated because you were being taught, because you were being recommended books to read and lectures to listen to? Like, even if you never do anything involved with or connected to one, It improves your ability to understand things, to have conversations. An informed population is a better population. In RPG terminology, like, you know, if you got the point to level up your luck just to have it.
So it appears like there is a pretty big discrepancy between, I'm posting a graph. It looks like there's a pretty big discrepancy. If you're saying over 75% of people, or over 74%, or whatever 70% number you said, that like most people are, 70 something percent of people are planning on going to college. We see the trend line is pretty consistent of like there's a pretty consistent growth. I don't see like why this would jump from
75.
this why this would jump from 30% to
But this is
70% in
complete.
like 3 years.
This is completed though. I said this is completed, so people can drop out. And you and I both know that economically speaking, even just attending some college is more beneficial for you economically speaking than not attending any college at all. This is people who
Okay.
completed college. This is very different.
So some college or whatever.
Further, you and I both know, like post 20, I think it was 1999 or like 2000, early 2000s, like vast majority of people who are getting working on their education are people in their mid to late 20s. People were taking longer or attending college later in the
Sure.
year. So thus, like fundamentally, you and I both know that these people could be in college currently.
Sure.
Like like it seems that unless your goal, economically speaking, is to create like a semi-skilled, like impoverished class of people, like if you want to be like China or India, where basically people just sit around and make who are on it, who are desperate for work and spend their time assembling iPhones, employment, the way to do it is to provide, even if they become educated in like Russian literature and they spend the rest of their life, it betters them. It gives them that opportunity. I thought you were about choice, my friend.
Wait. What about so
If
Russian
people have a
literature?
choice. Well, no, no,
So
no, no. So I thought you were all about consent. Do people not have the consent to choose to be educated on something they
oh,
wish? I thought you were about freedom.
yeah, I'm about freedom. I don't necessarily think so. In my libertarian hot takes, I don't think freedom necessarily means stealing money from. I have the freedom to steal your money and then spend it on myself.
No, I'm sorry. Freedom requires equality. So if we're going to educate you in law, I think we should have people. I think Orwell should have the right to be educated in Russian literature.
Well, I mean, would you agree that maybe like one has more applications in our society than the other one?
Do you know the next year there won't be a Russian literature gap, and we'll need to spend millions of dollars educating people in Russian
I
literature?
mean, hypothetically, all these
Well,
weird
no,
degrees could be
hypothetically,
beneficial.
like Putin could die tomorrow, collapse, and we need more people who are acquainted with Russian culture to help integrate the Russian refugees from the
Okay.
Russian Civil War into the United States of America. Like that's completely theoretical situation.
Okay.
As Mr. Freedom and Consent, what right do you have to tell people how to use their education?
Well, no, it's not necessarily about like me telling. Again, like I'm not. I never talk about. I actually had this debate with somebody else before. I never actually think that I have the right to like tell somebody not to go study for something, right? I think that just like I don't have the right to tell somebody, hey, I'm gonna go to Burger King or McDonald's. Oh, no, you have to go to McDonald's. Well, no, I can choose whichever one I want. But if I'm saying, I'll pay for your food, but if you don't go to McDonald's, I won't pay for your food. I think at
You're
that
not,
point that's different.
Blackwood, you're not paying for it. Society's paying
Uh,
for
well,
it.
I'm, but I, if every taxpayer is paying for it,
No, society's paying for it. That's
well,
very different. The
where
money
does
went
where does society get that money
no, no,
from?
no. Lactoid. There are many people like myself at times would argue lawyers are a drain on society. We should instead decide things by probability. We should flip a coin in the courtroom instead. I think
You'd be comfortable with that, like in a criminal trial?
for the sake of this argument, sure. I don't think
No,
sure.
you wouldn't. You wouldn't be comfortable with
Yeah.
that.
No, no, that's correct.
We already have so many problems with like with innocent
Well,
people
no, no,
getting
no.
convicted.
Exactly. But Lactoid,
Yeah,
you and I both know how many like terrible lawyers there are. You and I both know how
sure.
much disdain there is for the law.
And
Why
it's
should we have to educate? Why should we be educating you? You're
cause,
not going to benefit
no,
society.
because the law is very hard, and having a bad lawyer is better than no lawyer.
At least our fine friend, the Russian literature welder,
The Russian welder.
the Russian literature, the Russian literature educator kid welder can like sit in a
Sure,
park and talk to people, explain them the great lengths of Dostoevsky and it's like that. He can be a
sure.
benefit to society. There are a great many lawyers who you and I both know are not in benefits to society.
Yeah, no, I actually agree that
Every
the legal field is like a little bit oversaturated right now, so I'm not sure I'd be for paying for people to go to law school. I don't actually think that'd be a
Yeah,
smart financial
so
decision.
so I think the market would benefit from more lawyers to drive down the price of law, so more people have access to, to legal counsel.
That kind of happens, I guess, but like not
So,
really.
for lactoid, you don't have a right. You don't have the right to be a rare commodity. I think we should inflate. We should bring up supply until it's hyperinflated, so it's open for any demand necessary.
Um, I
Capitalism's a
mean,
cruel. Capitalism's a very cruel mistress.
well,
Like
no. So
everybody
no, I
agrees
know.
with me. I can easily
Well,
argue that we should
well,
use more capitalism.
but yeah, no, I understand. But like this is how the market works, right? So we can have a system where you want to have it like inflated, right? But if you're gonna push keep funding it past its normal like equilibrium point where the demand and the supply meet, you're effectively advocating for like corporate subsidies at this point, right? You want to subsidize this particular industry so like this is like corn subsidies, right? Like we're going to subsidize this so there's way more than there normally would be, and then therefore it drives the price down. But the issue is that first of all, it's expensive when you subsidize something, and you're taking it from tax
Wait,
dollars that
are
you're
you
taking
saying
from people anyway.
are you saying the corn CEO, doesn't have the right and freedom to lobby the government so I can do rental capture?
Yeah, this is I think a very good
Yeah,
criticism of democracy, honestly,
no, this isn't criticism of democracy. This is
and lobbying power.
this is a demonstration of the failure of capitalism and what the mass accumulation of wealth does for economy. Like fundamentally, the originator of capitalism advocated for the disdain and aim and breaking up of the mass accumulation of capital. Like fundamentally, the biggest threat to capitalism, in Adam Smith's Britain, were the massive feudal states that essentially, from a uncompetitive sense, destroyed any chance for a market to form.
I agree. Yeah.
No, if you believe in like the if capitalism is like people competing to deliver the best product,
Yes.
need organized mass accumulation of wealth. It's either you can have the freedom to become a king or the freedom of a market. You can't have both. Like fundamentally, a complete monopoly is completely against any concept of Adam Smith capitalism. Now,
Well,
if you're like a feudalist, if you fundamentally believe like in might makes right, that if I have the most powerful power, I can do whatever I like with it. I can abuse and beat and murder and torture my workforce into working more for me. Then so be it. Like if that's your perspective, then fine. I will argue might makes right in other ways, but like fundamentally, this is the failure of libertarianism.
I feel.
It's fundamentally a front for feudalism.
Well, no, wait. So I think we're getting a little off topic.
No, this is completely on topic.
No,
This is
I wouldn't say. So I would say that I don't think libertarianism is like ANCAPism, right? I think that there's a pretty good argument that without any kind of centralized government, you would kind of get this kind of feudal system.
so like
But when I'm talking, what you're talking about specifically about, like, about subsidizing a particular industry. In this case, the example we're using is law.
no,
I don't.
I'm not saying subsidize industry. I'm saying let people freely decide if they want to enter law. If they cannot compete in that market, fine.
No, no, right, but freely,
Give everyone the opportunity
right,
to be educated
right,
by a legal education system.
right. But
Like
it's
that's all. I'm not saying I'm gonna demand everyone become a lawyer. I'm not saying we're gonna give everyone $1 million extra if they become a lawyer. I'm saying, hey, here's a law school. There's always gonna be a seat open. It's free of charge.
yeah.
Anyone who will do it. And if you pass the classes and do the right things, you will become a lawyer
But we
in
know.
our society.
But we know what this does, right? Like when you give corn
Doesn't-
subsidies, you're not forcing people to eat corn. But we know what this is going to
Yeah,
lead
no,
to.
you're okay. So the problem with corn subsidies is they're only given the corn. If we subsidize all healthy vegetables, it's amazing what might happen with the American
No,
diet.
why even subsidize like any of the vegetables? Why not just let the demand like for the vegetables take
I
like
mean, if there-
determine the
if-
price?
if- I mean, because if we recognize that the market demand or people need vegetables so they can better enjoy other emblems of the market.
Yeah.
Because fundamentally, if people are healthy, that means they can buy anything on the market. Then because if they're dead or unhealthy, they can't buy things in the market.
Then why steal their money? Couldn't they spend that money in vegetables? Why artificially like why do we have to artificially lower down the
Because that's
price of the
that's the
shit?
because that's the cost of Lockean democracy. It's either we all give up some freedoms for general welfare and
Sure.
benefit, or it's ANCAPism or feudalism, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like,
With
look,
yeah,
it's
okay.
either we all contribute to become to where we don't allow each other to abuse each other, so
Sure.
or we might as well just allow abuse.
So it's
Like we're fine.
like free colleges or feudalism is these the two options we have.
I mean, the classic take is your socialism or barbarism, but fundamentally, it is the options are either let people abuse each other,
Hmm.
or say you can't abuse each other. So that either means we let everyone get access to like a karate camp so they can prevent each other from abusing each other, or that means everyone gets access to a similar amount of resources. People have a similar chance of competing on a marketplace. Like libertarians talk about like the internet, like how like oh there's just so much freedom on the internet. It's so easy for anyone to compete and build things out. Like if
Yeah.
under any kind
Kind
like,
of.
any kind of libertarian we don't need to go into
Google's kind of taken over the whole thing, but yeah.
how would we beat Google? So it's almost like Google's a monopoly, and monopolies are anti-capitalistic
Yeah, no,
or anti. So
monopolies are
thus,
kind of a problem, yeah.
wait, I thought you were pro monopoly.
No, I never said that.
Okay, so you're anti-monopoly, but you're pro-libertarian.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, so where do you draw the line? Why is with Google? So what would you do to Google then?
I don't know. So like,
Would you give subsidies to vote?
no. So I think we were talking about like antitrust legislation. I think that some of the antitrust legislation is okay. I think that when we're talking about breaking up a company, we have to look at it with a very skeptical eye, right? But the justification for breaking up a company would be that the amount of coercion that this company exerts when it gets to that level um, outpaces the overall consent or overall coercion that it would take to limit what this company can do, right? And so
Oh, you break up Google, you make YouTube its own company, and you make Google AdSense its own company.
yeah, like you would figure out a way to like try to minimize the amount of coercion involved and try to minimize the amount of like material losses that people suffer, but also prevent this kind of like organized monolith
That's
that
pretty.
that
That's
that,
pretty.
that
That's pretty
leads to.
socialist of you.
I
I'm not
don't think it's
even.
particularly socialist.
I'm not even. I'm not. That's pretty socialist of you. Like
Oh well, I'm not sure if
I,
Google. I'm not sure if Google is at
I'm
that
not
point,
even.
right? I'm not sure if
I'm
Google's
not
at
even
that point.
break up Google.
Well, I'm not sure if Google's at that point, right? Like I think we can all come up with examples of like companies where it's very clear that this had to happen, right? Like Standard Oil or something. But maybe it'll get to the point where nobody can actually compete with Google, and if it gets to that point, then maybe we have to have like a conversation on that because we're
So
seeing right now Google starting to abuse that power, right? You see YouTube banning people who they disagree with, or demonetizing people who
does a
have
private
kind of
does a private company now have the right to control who's on their platform?
not
I
necessarily
mean, no one.
not
I mean,
necessarily
no
when they
one.
control the
I mean,
public forum.
Lactoid. No one has the right to make money on YouTube.
No, I understand that, but like, especially when we're talking about banning people, I'm not sure people should have the right to like a company who controls the public forum should have a right to just to regulate that public forum in a way to prevent discourse from happening, right?
I always find it funny
This
whenever
is a new
libertarians
problem.
talk about, whenever basically NCAPs talk about, oh, we need more freedom, but Google banned me on YouTube. I'm
Yeah.
concerned I won't be able to make money off of racist rubes.
Look, freedom of speech is like the foundation. It is the soil in which all else grows. I can send you my diagram if you want.
Yeah, yes, I've seen your terrible diagram.
See my
So show it
diagram?
to me.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Why is it freedom of speech the most important thing?
I actually really like Destiny's take on this, where he was arguing with that Digibro guy, and he was basically saying like they're having an argument about like the idea of the argument itself, and the question was like, well, what makes an argument a good argument? Is it a good argument, or if you walk in with the answer already, with the right answer already, and then you have a terrible argument, is that a good argument? And I think here the discussion was, at least what Destiny was arguing, is that no, even if you have like you think you have the right answer, if you can't defend it, you have a bad argument.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that this is kind of embodies why freedom of speech is so important, right? Because
So
whenever you're claiming, wait, real quick, whenever you claim to have the authority to silence somebody else and to shut down the ability for other people to even listen to them, what effectively you're saying is I don't even have to hear this person's argument to know that they're wrong because I just know that I'm right. I think this is like a fundamental misunderstanding of the way thought should work.
freedom of speech going to feed people in poverty though? Like,
Well,
how can people make arguments
yeah,
and
but
advocate themselves if they are literally starved to death?
but,
They're
wait,
not
but yeah, but without
given resources.
without freedom
And
of speech,
it's like saying like people have a right to play. Everyone has a right to fight in the blood sports deathmatch arena,
yeah.
but not everyone has the right to use their millions of dollars to buy a shotgun before they walk into that arena.
Well, no, because look, without the free,
Everyone has the freedom to buy the gun, but maybe not everyone has the resources to do it. So thus, who cares about your actual ability to compete in the deathmatch arena if one guy has a gun, the other guy has nothing?
sure,
Still, without equal material conditions.
without the freedom of speech, so we can't even begin to have the discussion about what material conditions that somebody should have.
Without material conditions, we don't have any speech.
Okay, but this is assuming that there is a huge demographic of Americans. Like, let's be real here. Most people in America are doing all right, right? Most people have internet access. Most people have an ability to like to express themselves if they have to. But now we're running into a new issue in which the ability to express themselves is declining, while at the same time wages are going up, unemployment rate is going down. It appears like material conditions are getting better, while freedom of speech
Wait.
protections are getting worse.
What what economic data are you citing that suggests
Sure.
wages are going up
Yeah, I'll send that to you.
on average? Like, and second of all, like again, we return to it. Like, yes, all the people who have too much free time and are very dumb and broken with brain worms have all the internet. Yes, you have the internet. I have the internet. Plenty of bitchy whiny white dudes have the internet to complain about their politics on YouTube. Everyone has access to the internet, and fundamentally, the internet was very different a generation ago. Not everyone had access to that. Fundamentally, the better comparison is sure, lots of people have the right to a vote. Somehow, a lot of people get their votes suppressed in various ways. It's like comedic. It's like suggesting, like, oh, well, you're not literally getting shot at, thus you shouldn't be bitching, complaining. Like,
I mean, I don't think the electoral college makes sense if this is where we're going to. I'm not going to defend
not
that.
only electoral college, but like you and I both know what happened in Georgia when it came to like Stacey Abrams versus that Republican. Like, they totally suppressed the vote.
I don't know. It did. I mean, I'm pretty sure a court looked into that, and didn't they find no evidence of that?
Yeah, a Republican court that voted on party lines found there was no evidence, and guess what party won that vote?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at the actual case. Basically, my point here is there is a case called there's a case out of California actually. You might enjoy that. There's a case called
Terrible.
it's called oh shit. I can never remember the name. Every time I bring it up, it's like
I've got a good topic change for you. At what point are you concerned by democracy as a libertarian who knows and stuff like that? Because like me, so we're at the point electoral college bad, right?
yeah. If
Oh.
with the idea of yeah, so I think it's bad just because I don't see the logic of like why we're giving votes to dirt necessarily compared to people. I think that there's a lot of criticisms about democracy that I have, right? It appears to me to democracy just to basically be like a gang robbery. You have the majority oppressing the minority, and if the Bill of Rights exists to protect the minority from the majority, it seeks to limit
Wait,
democracy.
wait a minute. At what point has the Bill of Rights protected the minority against the majority? We've had slavery, we've had class war, we've had the oppression of women. Like the Bill of has never been the rule of law in America until that the American system protects the minority from the majority.
So inherently it does.
Minority, the only minority that's ever been protected under our current undemocratic system is the minority of the rich and powerful.
No,
Like in the,
no, no, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Because look, the the people who whose freedom of speech isn't in danger, they don't have to. The First Amendment isn't there for their protection, right? It's there to protect the people from democracy specifically. And a great example of this is the majority of Americans want to ban burning the flag, right? They want to institute a criminal penalty for burning the flag, but the Supreme Court said no, you can't do that, right? You have the freedom of speech. You have the right to burn the flag if you want to. This is an example of the court stepping in and saying the Bill of Rights here protects the minority. We passed amendments, right? We passed amendment against slavery. We passed amendment that protects, particular
So
civil rights. Like,
I'm not gonna lie. I'll take the L on
okay,
burning the flag, but I'm still in favor of the majority.
sure.
Fundamentally, it's like, well, feudal monarchs have rights. How dare the peasantry like
Also, what about abortion? What about abortion? That's another thing, right? It's a huge talking point right now. And if it wasn't for the courts, that'd be illegal in most states right now.
and most states are backwards idiots. Like I'm just on,
Well, this is
federal
the
level.
democracy that you praise so much.
Democracy on the federal level. Localism is for dumb anarchists. I don't
Okay.
believe any.
Well, I'm pretty sure most Americans are actually pro-life, if I'm not mistaken.
No, a majority of Americans are pro-choice.
We'll find out. You might be right. I haven't looked at these numbers.
Majority of Americans are pro-choice. Just because the majority of Alabamans are backwards idiots doesn't mean that they're right. That if we put things up by plebiscite for the Supreme Court, we'd have a much more engaged population who's willing to be educated and informed on these topics.
So 50% of Americans are saying legal only under certain circumstances. 29% say legal under any circumstances, and 18% say illegal in all circumstances. So it appears like
a majority of Americans are pro-choice with some exception.
And in fact, the people who personally identify as pro-life or pro-choice is 48-48 in 2018. So it's exactly tied, right? So that means if next year or this year, right, it comes out like 1% shifted to pro-life over the pro-choice, if it became like 49-47.
I have confidence in the American people. If the action was actually put up to pop their votes, the racist theocrat groups would be put down like the dogs they are.
Wait, why is being pro-choice racist?
That's fundamentally, it's hypocrisy. It's about controlling people and keeping them impoverished. Like it's consistently like the Republicans who vote for this, their daughters, their wives, their mistresses, their nieces will always be able to go to a different state or a different country and get an abortion.
Well, but if it was federally, but if it was federally illegal.
Federally legal, who do you think would be the majority of people affected? The people with lower income. Majority of people who have lower income.
Right, because generally people with lower income, like they're more likely to get an abortion in the first place.
Yes, fundamentally, when it comes to the current ethno-economics of this country,
yeah.
if it's negative for poor people, it's negative for people of color. That's the tragic reality.
Okay, but you would call it like racist?
I mean, do
you think Planned Parenthood is racist?
No, I've never seen any indication that the current leadership, organization, designs, ambitions of the current modern iteration of Planned Parenthood would have racist intentions.
But what about Margaret Sanger? Do you think she's racist?
Margaret Sanger is a bitch. A majority of the people over the age of like 60 are assholes.
So let me just really quick run through. This is a quick like instruction.
You're doing like the stereotypical like ooh, this person that was part of an organization you like.
Well, no. I'm gonna tie this. Okay, so
I don't. No. So it's amazing. We have nuanced opinion. Current Planned Parenthood.
Yep. Okay.
Planned Parenthood, especially the early leadership of Planned Parenthood. To my knowledge,
okay.
Majority of people in the leadership of Planned Parenthood and the current Planned Parenthood do not have like eugenics ambitions.
Sure.
Further, there are other organizations besides Planned Parenthood that offer abortions to people that aren't connected to Margaret Sanger. There's a really good one that's specifically aimed at poor people of color, like
sure,
the abortions that aren't Planned Parenthood.
So
like Lactoid. You know how like Ken was like part of the Klan 2 decades ago? How dare you like stand in the room with the Republican Party? Or like Ben Shapiro was on Breitbart, which is basically like the modern America's neo-Nazi magazine.
I don't know if Breitbart is fucking neo-Nazi magazine. Hold on a second.
They had a hydrant. They literally, up until like recently, they basically had a report about like black crime statistics. Like, what do you think that is for, Lactoid?
I don't know. We can have a discussion on that if you want. I want to talk about Planned Parenthood though. So I do. No, this is my argument here. So there was a charge.
Are you pro-choice or
pro-life? I'm personally pro-choice, but there was a charge here levied where you said that this was racist because it had an effect on a particular people. Even if this particular effect wasn't intended, it does have the effect of having an undue effect on people of color. Therefore, it's racist. I'm asked.
I already agreed with you that both eugenics, Planned Parenthood, and Margaret Singer are assholes.
Sure,
I laugh at them and throw them out of the country.
Sure. So
is it 1980?
Well, no, but this is why I'm gonna this is why I'm gonna ask this question. So Margaret Sanger, when she originally I think she was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and her vision for Planned Parenthood was
Lactoid,
that.
no one cares.
Wait, no, check it out.
Imagine quoting like,
No,
"Ooh,
this is.
you
I promise I'll get to. No, no, I know. I promise I'll get to my point. Okay, my point's not done. So she was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and her intention of this was to try to get more abortions in people in areas of minority areas. Therefore, there'd be less minorities. Right. This is the point. When you look at current abortion rates and the current location of Planned Parenthoods, you see that the current location of Planned Parenthoods tends to be in minority areas, and the vast majority of people who get abortions, in terms of percentage of population, are minorities. Do you think that this effect, if Margaret Sanger's intention was like a eugenics, has a eugenics intention, and the effect is currently the same as when she started it, and maybe the intentions have shifted, is Planned Parenthood still a racist organization, or would you say no, not now?
Oh, of course not, because
Why not?
fundamentally it's understood what abortions are ways to reduce poverty. Fundamentally, people understand that unplanned pregnancies, that the general sexual
Sure.
health and reproduction freedoms that Planned Parenthood currently offers benefit people. Like one of the big things Planned Parenthood does is like cancer screenings. To my knowledge, cancer screenings are not designed to like kill poor people.
No, all right.
Fundamentally, like you're literally doing the like shitty right-wing talking points. That makes me very disappointed in you.
All I'm asking is, like, you seem to say that if this has an unintended effect that happens to affect people of color more, then it's racist. And so I'm asking.
I never said that. I said that if you specifically have a policy that's designed to cause harm towards poor people in this country,
Okay.
that it has racist intent.
You think
Because
so?
the reality is there are vast majority of the right wing in America do not really have like a class consciousness. They don't really, most of them don't seem to really have a deep disdain of like specifically poor whites. It's just a lot of them have a deeply racist perspective, and they hate and their way of harming them is to attack all poor people because it gets a majority of people of color, it gets a majority of minorities. He's like, that's it. Like it's not like the Republicans were like, oh yes, we will kill. If we had our way, we'd kill everyone who made less than six figures. But I imagine they're too dumb. They're still probably jerking off about the master race and shit like that. It's like, that's it. There's no complications. There's no magic to this. Stop kidding yourself.
You think? Wait. So about master race, you agree that like a very very small like subset of the right wing in America would like even talk about like or even think about like the idea of the master race or anything like
Yes,
this, right?
they're too dumb to think of it in that context. They just hate people of color.
You
They
think
don't think there's
you think most Republicans hate people of color?
leadership probably do hate people of color. Yes.
Okay.
They probably hate women. They probably hate gays. They probably hate everyone who they do not think is in their club.
Sure.
So yes. Fuck. Who's the current Republican head of the Senate?
I don't know.
Whatever his name is. Turtle guy can marry an Asian woman and still be a racist asshole because he probably thinks she's one of the good ones or she's on his side. Everyone that's not in the room, fuck him.
What particular policy do you think they're doing that is motivated by a hatred of poor people?
I mean, where to start? I would say probably I would just throw lead on pretty much 90% of the stuff they say and just say that, but that's not the conversation I want to have because we'll be here all day listing out every Republican policy. But let's just say like cutting Social Security.
Okay.
Just pick one out of the air. So let's just say that they think poor people should die or work themselves to death in their factories or whatever. So, on the topic of these things, I find it fascinating, Lactoid, that you are so dedicated to defending the Republican Party when they're completely against giving people freedom. Why do you completely imagine the world as a you can't have freedom unless you include those freedoms oppress other people? Like, if I imagine you think, Lactoid, that like most people have a right to work. They have the right to like go out into the desert and dig holes with a shovel.
Sure.
But do you believe you have a then right to then control them?
What do you mean by control?
I mean, fundamentally, do you think everyone in order to work, must have a manager?
Not necessarily. There's people who are self-employed.
Exactly. It's almost like people don't need to have a control over them. It's almost like people have a general good, and there's a handful of people.
Some people don't.
General was the key word. It's almost like there's a handful of people the wealthy, the powerful. Centuries ago, they have been monarchs, emperors, and kings. The Koch brothers. Like, it's an absolute apathy and disdain of their fellow humans. They believe in a sense of superiority and want to control them. That's fundamentally wrong. That's fundamentally anti-libertarian. That, like, I imagine, like, you would never in your heart say, like, yes, kings are good. We need more kings. Or more people should have the right to and freedom to become kings. Correct?
No, I'm not a fan of monarchism. No.
Yeah. So if I call it a CEO, and that CEO's abilities and freedoms include the ability to, like, keep people in poverty, to oppress people, to, like, hire armed, threaten his workforce who he's paid starvation wages. Like, the people have the freedom to, like, start a company. Also, people have the freedom to, like, be paid a living wage. And if everyone had a guaranteed sustainable living wage, if everyone had guaranteed equal access, if there was a large tax on, like, if capitalism is and libertarianism was fundamentally, unquestionably, always this, like, beautiful, like, complete focus on human ability, that the only division is by personal ability on itself, that would be one thing. It's fundamentally people wanting the right and freedom to oppress each other. Ignorance of, like, human history and culture. It's a complete disdain of Lockean democracy, and it is a fundamental belief in the Hobbesian, like, at best ancapism and, like, feudalism, or at worst, like, clearly fascism.
You're saying anti-Lockean, but you know Locke was a capitalist, right?
Yeah, but his idea of him and now this concept of capitalism was effectively, like, libertarian socialism. Like, it was use the state, whether that state be monarchy or democracy, which doesn't make them perfect, but a state that was tied to the sense of equal competition. But you'll notice is that, unfortunately, those things did not happen. Locke and Adam Smith were considered dangerous radicals by their governments.
So what Locke theorized was that the idea of property is that when you take something from the environment and you mix your labor with it, it becomes your property, right? So I think, right.
Locke and Adam Smith pioneered the labor theory of value.
Yes, and I agree with the labor theory of value, and I actually think Destiny, when he did his talk on like how property is really an extension of your life, right? Because when you work hours, that hours that you worked into the property is part of your life that you'll never get back. And so the idea is, if you own a particular, one of the things you can do with property is you can consensually give it away to somebody else. So if I work for 10 hours and I make something, and then I can sell that to somebody else for a price that liquid currency is what I think that the value, the labor that I did was worth. I don't think that by having a system in which you can consensually make a contract with somebody, like, hey, I'll work for you, and I'm gonna. By the way, people would actually prefer to be employees rather than independent contractors. I'll work for you, and I'll get a particular wage. There's gonna be no risk to me. I'm gonna use your equipment, and I'm gonna make money, and I'm gonna make an income. I'm gonna make a wage, and then I'm gonna take that wage, and I'm gonna, by the way, a wage that is going up as of recently. I don't think that this is this is anti-freedom. This is why I don't like to really characterize libertarianism as like freedom, like liberty and stuff, because I know it's in the word, but I know it's in the word, but it's kind of like a very vague kind of like anybody can co-opt it, right? Like, oh, don't you have the freedom to do this? Well, I guess you have the freedom to like steal money and then do that, but I wouldn't necessarily call that like an expansion of freedom, because I mean you're kind of robbing the freedom from the person that you're taking the money from. This is why I think like consent is a much like negative consent is a much better understanding of kind of the libertarian ethic.
Well, why does Charles Koch have the consent to violate most people's consent when it comes to like freedom of their bodies or freedom of
give me like what do you mean Charles Koch? Like, what did he do?
So like famously, he's got like one of the famous examples I would use it like famously like most of the policies he's pitched and pushed is like from setting up labor unions. Like he's essentially his push has basically been to criminalize labor unions in a significant.
No, it has not been to criminalize labor unions. He's pushing for right to work. It's very different.
Okay, so a right to work is
Mhm.
basically saying people the freedom to not work with people who are fighting and negotiating for your freely to establish a union of benefits.
A right to work is basically says a union can't force you to pay money to them just because you work in that particular job. That's what right to work means.
But also, right to work prevents the union, from saying the union gets these benefits, the non-union members don't.
No. That's not what right to work does. That's not what right to work does.
Right to
Nope.
work will.
Nope. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact,
and in this hyper-competitive sense, like a right to work union would say, like, yes, we negotiated X benefit for our members, but we will not give it out to union members to try to motivate growth to our union.
right.
However, do that. So that's like the union can't be competitive in that sense. It has to negotiate for people who aren't part of the union.
No, one of the defenses that the unions that consistently bring up when right to work arguments come up is they say that it's not fair that these free riders get the benefit off of our arguments because we represent them too. Like we are representing the entire workplace here. Nobody is forcing them to represent the entire workplace. They could very well say that only this particular subset of people are union workers. Therefore, if you join the union, then you get this money. But they insist, as a pretty good defense, or at least their strongest defense so far, against right to work, is they say that we have to represent the entire workplace. Therefore, it's only fair that everybody pays in. I don't think that, first of all, I don't think unions should have like the legal protections that they do, because a lot of legal protections that they have kind of rely on coercing businesses into cooperating with their demands, specifically strike protections. But even if we do grant that they have legal protections,
So people don't have the consent to have their strikes protected. Like why? Like so.
no, you don't have the consent to like keep a job and force an employer to hire you even if you're not working.
No, that's complete. If it's within the contract that you can take time off and stuff like that, a strike is completely legal.
Yeah, but strikes aren't in the contract.
No, you have a legal right to strike in the United States.
I agree. I don't think you should.
There you go, Mr. Lactoid. You don't get freedoms. You get my consent, my consent, which means again,
right.
The old, like, I have the right to do what the fuck if I want.
Oh,
I have power.
I think if you have two people that make a contract together, and then you have one of them who says, "I'm going to walk off the job. I'm not going to work anymore." The idea that we can force the business owner to just like keep them on the job blows me away.
Again, like we return to this old concept. Like at this point, like why not just be slavery? I we return to the old idea of just like, hey man, I believe my right's right. I believe if I can do something, I should have the right to do it. Okay. I use my armed mercenaries to tie people to their workplaces with chains, to rape and beat them freely. Why not? You're violating my consent.
No. So
do
you not agree that there might be like maybe a qualitative difference between having somebody at a job where they can leave and go to a different job if they want to, or compared to this person is like the chattel property of somebody else, right? Without like individual rights and without protections that individual protections that I'm supportive of.
I mean, Lactoid, you have the freedom to leave my plantation anytime you like. You're not technically chained to the ground. You need to go work in my fields.
No, under slavery, you can't leave.
If you freely leave my plantation, I will hunt you down and beat you.
Well, that's coercive to beat somebody up.
Oh, it's almost it is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's almost like, hey, you can leave my factory anytime, like just suffer and die in the.
No, you can no.
Food,
No, you can leave the factory at any time you want. But you don't have a right to my shit. That's all it says. The factory owner is not going to chase you down and kill you. The factory owner is just saying, like, I'm not going to keep giving you our property when you're not actually like following the terms of the contract. That's all it means.
And I find this fascinating. You're like, what about? And I like say, like, what people don't have a right to like not die. And you're like, what about my contract? God damn it! I own something, thus I have control. I own everything.
I don't think there's a huge misrepresentation of the amount of people who are dying of like starvation in America. Like I don't know, especially with the way food. In fact, we have too much fucking food in America. 2/3 of our country is overweight. 1/3 of our country is obese.
Okay, so I understand this is maybe hard for you to understand, but we're talking about the bigger picture here,
Stick
not
to me,
just like America in a nihilistic sense. There's poverty all around the world.
Right, but we're arguing about like American policy, right? Union
Like all
policy.
the rare heavy earth metals in Africa, which are basically used slave labor to take, or all those or the vast array of coffee that I'm drinking is probably grown and harvested with slave labor.
Yeah, I'm not drinking that coffee, so you're contributing to slavery right now, Stats. How does that feel?
Yeah, no, it's almost like I don't without going to pub without entering
Without not
poverty.
drinking coffee.
Well, if I need coffee to work and to play in the market, I must participate in slavery.
Hmm.
Hey,
Okay, well, so obviously I wouldn't be supportive of slavery then in this case.
You are in support of
No, obviously I would not be in support of like enslaving people to grow coffee. I think this is probably bad.
Okay.
So
How are you going to prevent me from enslaving people?
I would probably use force to prevent you from enslaving people. Just
Well,
like I would use force to prevent you from killing somebody.
well, don't. What I pay off? What? How are you going to do it? Use your own force, like personal force, or are you going to hire people to force me to do it?
No, I originally said like I'm not an
Are you going to direct?
I feel like there's a reducto that's put towards every libertarian that says every libertarian has to be an anarcho-capitalist. I don't think this is fair.
Is anarcho-capitalist.
That's not true.
Either you believe. Okay, so you. So I thought you were a libertarian, though.
I am.
Oh, it's not about libertarian freedom. It's about consent.
It is, yeah. It's about establishing a society that minimizes the amount of coercion that we have to use. That's what it's about.
And you're talking about how you need to coerce strength to coerce me to prevent me from coercing people.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to use some level of coercion to prevent people from doing much greater horrible levels of coercion.
It doesn't sound very consensual, actually. I'm not sure about this consensual society.
No, look,
you're violating my freedom to rape children, enslave people.
Stats. Look, don't you think that it might probably like it's a much lower level of coercion for me to stop somebody from like murdering a child? Like, don't you agree like murdering a child is probably like a pretty coercive act against someone's like negative freedoms?
Helping me murder a child, and you have by yourself, you're going to need help. So are you going to pay people? How are you going to pay them? Are you going to hire them personally? Is this child supposed to pay anti-child murder insurance to prevent them being murdered?
No, you would take the action that would like maximize the consent, which would be preventing the murder from happening.
How? Are you going to have
with the police? Yeah, you would have a police force. You would have to have some kind of like centralized state. Otherwise, you would get feudalism. And under feudalism, you would have a lot more coercion because we had feudalism and we saw levels of coercion that would blow your mind.
Yeah. So I would use my private feudal army to say I'm going to kill your police force with my private mercenary army. It's really simple. Like there's no amount, like all anarcho-libertarianism descends into ANCAPism.
I don't think this is true.
Industrial feudalism.
I don't think this is true, and I don't think it's not fair because if somebody argues for me like, hey, I want free healthcare, like we can disagree in it, but I'm not instantly going to go like, oh, so you want to like literally the Soviet Union then? That's what you want to go into.
We talked about that. You're like, well, tax is theft.
Tax is theft, yeah, but it's not like Soviet level.
Taxation is theft is the Soviet level. Like essentially, like saying, like, oh, all demands of the state are fascistic.
No, it's a matter of scale, right? Like if you're talking about Soviet level, like this is a level of coercion that's like out of this world. But if we're talking like maybe like free college, like you're talking about, like this is like more coercion, sure, but it's not like nearly at the level of like Soviet level shit. I don't think it's even the same system as like Soviet communism, like Marxist-Leninism, shit like this, right? This is in the same way that I don't think like libertarianism is like necessarily comparable when it comes to scale or when it comes to like system as anarcho-capitalism.
Again, we return to the real concept: do you believe society has the right to freely exist, or do you believe the individual has the right to freely exist?
I think the ultimate right lies in the individual, and society exists to try to support that individual's right. The society by itself has no right to exist. It's entirely predicated on the individual.
Then you're an ANCAP then.
No.
Police society has no right to exist, and purely it's what we do with our own ability.
No, that's not what I said. I said I said no. Yeah, I said society does not independently have a right to exist. Society exists merely to try to maximize the individual rights. That's all. The only real like things that is protected by rights is individuals.
Yes, and I include among those individual rights like a right to not die in poverty, a right to safe harbor and transportation, and housing and food and self betterment. You're like, fuck you. If we,
No, what I say is that
our society says freedom for everything. Parentheses, no slavery.
no,
Seriously,
no,
no slavery underlined.
right. I think when my great
The way slavery is okay.
right, so your greatest good really is like material well-being. Like I also value material well-being, but I think that there is an independent value on like consensual interactions and like have it like having whenever you agree to something somebody and whenever you agree to something with somebody to ensure that that is the try to make sure this is the most consensual transaction possible. Right? This is what I'm concerned about. I think this is like a value in of itself. It's not just the material well-being. It's also the, how you like where that material well-being comes from and how you get it. Right? Like for instance, if there's somebody who doesn't have money, let's put this like on a personal level, right? Like, if there was somebody who didn't have money and you were walking in the street and they put a gun in your face and said, "Give me all your money," and you gave all your money away, and but they were poorer than you, so actually it like provided a little more equality. Do you think like a bad thing happened? Like, would you feel bad? Would you say, "Wow, my rights were violated. Like this was wrong"?
Society failed in protecting my right not to be robbed.
Right. And why do you have a right not to be robbed?
Because society doesn't benefit from a world where robbery exists.
Yeah, because you have the right to that property, right?
No, society benefits when, well,
Obviously, you must have a right to that property, otherwise there wouldn't be robbery.
well, no. Society benefits from a world with less violence. Society benefits from a world with less robbery.
Okay, so if it was like a credit card scam, then it'd be fine, where there was where there was no threat of violence.
And regardless, it would inspire violence because poverty inspires suffering.
Well, but no, but if someone used credit card fraud and stole all your money, then that would actually like probably like a poor person would be less poor, and so that would make there less violence, wouldn't there?
Well, I love how this is what you're turning to. Like, but what if you were personally robbed? It's just like,
Yeah, no, because yeah, no, absolutely. That's
society benefits from common goods.
okay.
Less poor people means less people will be turned to crimes.
Right, but like I think that the taxation is like in the same stripe as robbery, right? It's just because the government does it doesn't make it any like less wrong.
So, Electroid, why are you here in America, this land of like laws like that? Go to Somalia.
Th-
You could like freely like.
No, I couldn't freely do anything in Somalia. I get shot like on the first day I land there.
Have the freedom to shoot you. Do you not believe people?
No, I don't believe people have the freedom to shoot other people. I think we've talked about this. I don't want to be shot.
I can't shoot my workers for defending my property.
Oh my god.
No, like I own a mine. These
Okay.
workers are out saying that they deserve not to be paid better or deserve not to have to be working my mines. I shoot them for daring for occupying my mine and threatening my property.
No, they can leave.
They need to work in my mine.
No, you don't have the right to force people to work in your mine. This is why I'm going to be against slavery, right?
I mean, I have my guys with guns. They're pointing at them. They say, "Hey, don't make any sudden moves like leaving my mine," and no one gets shot. Like it's semantics about what's slavery and what's not to you.
No, this is missing the point.
Employer for this area, and it's too expensive for people to walk out. Like they live in a desert, so if they try to walk out of my area, they will die on the way out.
No, so
I'm
this
the sole employer.
this is like a
I have all the guns. This is beautiful of them.
yeah, this is why I'm not an ANCAP, right? This is like a fundamental misunderstanding of like the difference between like a consensual interaction and a non-consensual interaction, right? If I agree with somebody to have sex and then I'm like, no, we're done, like then it's obviously not consensual anymore, and then it's wrong, and then it's like we can all agree that like one is fine, but then if it like goes to like a non-consensual level, then it's horrible, right?
I love the sexual consent metaphor.
Sure, you guys want to redistribute shit, right?
God, oh my god.
Redistribute the means of reproduction. No, you fucking incels.
Oh my god. You are. I am like a shit. I don't think. Oh my god.
Mm.
You
I
are
love you. I love
dumb.
you, Stats.
You are that dumb.
I know. Well, but no, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Come on.
Okay, so it's really simple.
Okay.
So one that's likely based on our understandings, like human anthropology and culture and sexuality, probably the most common example of rape was spousal rape.
hmm
I think you'd agree with that, right? Based on because why did spousal rape happen?
I don't know if it was the most common type. I haven't seen the numbers on that.
let's just say, like, if we're looking, it seems that if we count, if we understand spousal rape is a thing, we add up and we tally up every rape that's ever happened in history.
Yeah, well, so
I would
this
say spousal rape is probably up there.
so this first of all, this is speculation. We have no numbers in this. The second part is that spousal rape, by the way, even to the I was like looking into this, even according to like this definite, like the modern definition, like how the laws were structured was even like if the husband forcibly raped his wife, like that wouldn't be considered rape. The law changed, and so like if you rape somebody by the same metric in which you would measure rape for anybody else, now it's a crime. Which that makes sense to me, right? You have the same standard that you have in this, you have with anything else.
But how do you prevent spousal rape? It's not just having the law, because the reason many people suffer and deal with spousal abuse is because they don't have the economic freedom to like survive without their spouse. Tragically, many places in the world, like they're like
Okay.
if you're prevent spousal rape is the giving the person who's being raped the security and freedom to get out of that marriage consistently.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
say no, you don't have the right to have a rape. The people have the right to not be abused. Correct.
yeah, I think that the whenever you're committing abuse against somebody else, you're violating their consent.
So how do you do that beyond like holding a sign in the air saying you can leave your abusive relationship anytime you like?
Yeah, no, you would have to like you step up like levels of enforcement for this, right? Obviously, like rape is a very intimate and very bad like level of coercion. So
How do you prevent that abuse?
yeah, so right now how we do it is we have the police force, right? And we advertise like anti-abuse advertisements. We encourage people to get help. I don't think we should like necessarily start putting cameras in people's bedrooms, but I think it'd also be okay. I'm really big in favor of shifting the criminal justice system to start focusing not just on punitive measures, but also not only not so right now it's like punitive and rehabilitative. Like I wanted to focus a lot more on restorative. Right now it doesn't really focus on like restitution or restorative. Like I think we should start forcing the people who like to start forcing abusers or forcing other people that commit violent crimes to start paying money to their victims, right? And then take that like so the victim's better off and the victim actually has the means to kind of live a life that's better than how they currently live it.
You're going to use state force to take money out of abusers' hands,
Yeah, because
powerful hands, and give it to the victims of the power.
because they are committing the coercion upon some like I understand. Wait, stop.
Taxation is theft.
Yeah, I understand that like the argument here is I'm saying that you might have to use some force to end coercion, and then you're saying well the force itself is coercion. I understand like this is the angle that you're going for, but this is why my goal is I understand there has to be like some level of coercion to have a society. Like I recognize this. My goal is to try to minimize it. And so like if we can pay somebody a little bit of money to stop somebody from raping somebody, I think that overall like this is a good equation, right? This is a profitable equation in terms of overall consent.
Why does your system recognize, hey, if this we can potentially do this to prevent the rape from one individual raping another, but
Okay.
we can't do this to prevent like poverty or suffering and
Because
poverty.
because poverty is the baseline. Poverty isn't like one person doing something to somebody else.
Effectively, you just argued that we should use redistribution. So abusers and the abused are equally powerful, so the abuse can continue.
I wouldn't call that redistribution. I'd call it restitution. Like even if it resulted in the abuser having no money, then I would still do it. I would still take all the money from the abuser because this person committed a terrible coercion upon somebody else, and this person like their coercion needs to be rectified as much as it can. And so you do this by taking the person who did the action, the person who committed the horrible action. I don't have a lot of sympathy for like rapists and murderers and shit. Like take their shit.
And I don't have a lot of sympathy for powerful feudal like wannabe monarchs who think that they have since they could get away with abusing their significant other or abusing their workforces, that they have the right to keep doing that. Like I find it fascinating. Like you can't imagine this beyond like your house. Like well, if my like literally like this is so like small-minded of you in a sense.
No,
Like,
not just of my house, of any of kind of any situation that you can think of. I think I apply it pretty consistently.
So you have took the feminist angle of like yes, husbands should not rape their wives. I agree.
That's not just that's not just like a feminist angle. That's like, I mean, if you want to go by your definition of it, sure.
Another day.
Yeah, we don't have to fight on that. But like, I think that it's a pretty common sense angle that like you shouldn't rape people. I don't know. I left a fucking nectarine in my room, and now there's like fruit flies, and it's God damn it.
Those fruit flies have a right to your nectarine.
Oh my God, this is why I only give rights to humans. Fuck fruit flies. Do you want to talk about how I'm okay with eating meat? Do you want to go into that?
Oh, no, I'm all in favor of meat.
Really? I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah.
Have you ever talked about with Max about that?
I'm sure there's some vegan socials or whatever who feel guilty about that kind of shit, but I don't care.
Max is a hardcore vegan. He plays name the trait every time the
That,
conversation comes up.
no, like this is silly. Like, oh, you're not a vegan though. It's just like, no, I recognize humans are humans, and we need to do the most good at the cost of the least to harm. And so, for the reality is, in terms of the most good for the least amount of harm, really that important at the moment. Long term, should we have stay enforced veganism? If if it's a thing that's going to prevent uh, dramatically harmful climate change, maybe. But the
Yeah.
reality is, there are more important things in the world than like um, if essentially someone's eating a wheat based or meat based burger.
What if I could show you that eating meat demonstrably does like being vegan is demonstrably better for you in every category compared to eating meat? Like
Or it could be better for me in the same way that like.
and cheaper. What about that?
And I'm sure there's some pedophiles that will show you that raping children is better for them. But again,
Wait.
you're doing the most amount of good for the most amount of people.
No, no, no. So raping children is like bad. Like I can actually
I mean, there are a lot of people that will argue it's not.
sure, but I have like evidence on this that like proves that like it causes brain damage and shit. Like there's a lot of negative aspects that come out of it, right? And I think that I agree with a lot of the arguments against it, right? This is why I'm very for an
Okay.
age of consent when it comes to
Yeah.
determining consent for most things.
Okay.
Um,
So wait, no. So okay, let's actually examine this.
oh
As
God,
a libertarian, why are you in favor of age of consent?
because
Like,
if yeah, because I am for the age of consent for the same reason, and also keeping in mind people who are mentally handicapped when it comes to making determination of consent, because I think the fundamental baseline of like consenting to something is understand like having a minimal understanding that you are consenting to it. And I don't think children have this. And I don't think the mentally handicapped have this either. I think
so
that if you can't understand that you're like the gravity that you are entering into a contract, then I don't think that it's right that you can, right?
okay, same sort of sense of contract. Like if I own a fruit plantation, I give you a contract to sign in English, and I say like, yeah, no problemo, my friend. We will give you $20 an hour.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So let's like
It's at 20 cents or 20 pesos, not 20 American dollars.
well, but like so the thing
Say that person's contract was violated, right?
no, so what I would say is that there was never a right to make a contract with that child in the first place. If the contract was not geared towards the benefit of the kid, right? And so like the idea is that I think that when it comes to children, because the consent is unable to obtain, that at that point you move it down on the hierarchy of like values, and then and then at that point, then the preservation of life, the reduction of harm, and the promoting of human flourishing for that child is more important than their consent because again they don't have the ability to give consent, right? And so if anything that would cause them harm, they can't consent to it. And in this case, I think that making a child work in the fields for 20 cents an hour would probably cause a lot of harm. However, if you gave them like a job that actually taught them skills that they could use later on in life, and you paid them a fair wage in it, then I'd be
Oh
fine with it, right?
God.
That'd be totally
Oh
fine with that.
God.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's
No,
I think like
no,
teaching like putting a 16-year-old to work at like an automotive place, like yeah, that's great, right? It's
if
good
they
for
don't
them.
consent to it.
If they didn't consent to it,
They don't consent to it. Can you make them work in a place?
no. I mean,
Okay,
maybe their parents could. I don't know.
original argument was like essentially like
Your wait, wait,
insane.
your parents can make you do stuff that like your parents can make
No,
kids do stuff
no,
they
no,
don't necessarily consent
no,
to.
no. Sure, sure. I don't care what the parents think. No, no.
Yeah, they're legal guardians. I wouldn't change
He
this.
wants to be informed about them, right? Like, so if the contract's in a language I don't speak, or like you're like, oh no, it was in code actually, and see, you signed.
Yeah, I'd be against this. Yeah, I think transparency is important.
You would argue like, oh, if you're gonna be signing contracts with people who don't speak English, you need to make sure the contract's in the
Yeah,
language they speak,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I think transparency is important when it comes to like having somebody consent to somebody. Absolutely. Otherwise, it's a scam, right? I'm not for scamming.
Yeah, yeah, and so I'm not trying to be uncritical here. I'm being honest, like so essentially we're like equalizing the power people have to understand the contract.
Not necessarily about equalizing power. It's more about making sure both parties understand the contract. That's all it
So
is.
it's like a fairness, right?
Not necessarily a fairness. It's about like making sure they understand what they're getting into, right?
But if both parties are understanding it, that means they're both fairly understanding it. Is that not that I'm trying to be really honest here. I'm not jumping to like the thing that I want to talk about. I'm being like, is that not being like fair to both
Well,
parties?
no. What I'm saying, like, if I go to somebody and I say, "Here, I'll give you this like $100 if you give me," or sorry, I'll give you this $50 if you give me your $100, and they are of sound mind and they consent to that. I think this is fine, even though they're like the deal was unfair, right? I got $100, they got 50,
No,
but we both understood it. Yeah.
what if like they don't speak English or something like that? And you
Yeah, yeah,
can't,
yeah, yeah. Then that'd be different,
or
right? Yeah, I agree.
if they weren't of sound mind and body, or if they
Right.
were
Yeah.
a minor.
Yeah.
Then what we get into. So do you believe shit? Fuck. What's it? No, what's the right to attorney? It's the
Right to an attorney.
Miranda. Miranda. Do you believe in people have Miranda rights?
So Miranda rights isn't necessarily a right to like that. That doesn't come. The right to attorney doesn't come from Miranda. Miranda rights basically says you have the right to remain silent. That's all. That's all it says.
What do you believe people have a right to an attorney?
So that is provided. I should know this. I'm pretty sure it's like
But
Fifth Amendment.
but do you believe from like an have people have a right to an attorney?
Um.
Legal counsel. Do people have a right to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do people have a right to an attorney?
I think because nobody understands the law, barely attorneys do, and so this is just an unfortunate instance in which, without an attorney, I think would result in tremendous amounts of innocent people being subject to the direct coercion of the state. And I think that a system that would try to minimize this level of direct coercion from the state would probably be like would overall maximize consent.
So
And law is fucking. I've been studying this shit, and law is so fucking hard to read, right? I mean, like I cannot like I'm almost done with law school, and I can barely understand some stuff sometimes. Like I can't even fathom like a lay person trying to like fully read through like the laws about like trying to interpret them, right? And you get some people like this, right? The Moors and shit, and the sovereign citizens, where they just like fundamentally misunderstand everything, and they just fuck themselves over, right? And unfortunately, like these people like directly refuse an attorney, and I think that honestly, you have a right to do that, right? If you don't want an attorney and you insist, like, oh no, I actually have this, I know the truth or whatever.
but people have a right to an attorney, correct?
Yeah, because again, I think that like overall, we're talking about like creating the most consensual society. I don't think having a system where like we're throwing people in prison on laws that they can't understand because the way they're written like fucking Greek hieroglyphs or Egyptian hieroglyphs, like I don't know. I think that it's a fundamental lack of transparency and it's unfair. And I think the end solution would be to try to draft laws more like transparently. Unfortunately, with how complex our lives are, I don't think this was either is going to happen anytime soon or can happen.
What would more transparent laws mean to you?
This is a good question. I think that
What do more like if our options are less transparent law, more transparent law, what does that mean in a sense of like a legal?
yeah,
What does it mean to society?
yeah.
Because I think
So like more transparent law would be so the
that what would it mean? Like I know like what that would mean for like like in terms of how you write the law. Like what more transparent laws mean for society? Why would they be
Oh,
good?
so like basically my goal would be like getting laws in a particular way where people, especially people who are subject to like criminal justice, like if they're like being charged criminally, like they understand exactly what they're being charged with. They understand kind of what their defenses are, and they understand kind of what they need to argue to show that they didn't do it, right? Or at least to show that the law can't prove that they did it, right?
Okay.
This is why I think it's important.
So why are you violating my freedom not take advantage of people who aren't informed about the law?
Because I just said I think transparency is important. Because I think that leads to like more
What
consensual,
does transparent law equate to?
more consent, like less coercion, I guess.
And I like less coercion, and I like less coercion in
No,
terms of like
no, no.
economics and stuff like that. Also, because fundamentally, they're
Right, but no, but in this case, we're talking about like the state threatening, like sometimes people with like the fucking death penalty, or in some cases, like throwing them in
okay.
fucking a cage for the rest of their life. Like this is like
Wait a
several
minute.
orders of
Wait a
magnitude
minute.
difference.
So you're against people being death who don't deserve the death penalty, or against people who are being thrown in jail, right?
Yes,
Who don't deserve it.
yes.
It's almost like I've been arguing this entire time. Sometimes bad things happen to people because they've been taken advantage of by economic factors, by people who believe they have the free right to take advantage of other people.
No, this is not a case of people taking advantage of
No,
people. This is
no,
the case
no.
of a mistake. This is a mistake of the system, and we're trying to correct the mistake.
Yeah, the mistake of the system was allowing people to acquire so much power that they can take advantage of other people.
No, the mistake of the system was they literally, it's a factual mistake. They got it wrong. They thought this guy killed the person and he really didn't. Right? The Innocence Project's like literally coming out people every day that like DNA evidence shows they didn't actually do it. I'm fine with punishing people who actually did it, right? I mean, even if they could
So
claim like for instance, like even if somebody who's super poor like killed somebody and stole their money, like I don't care. Like you still killed somebody and stole their money, you should be punished.
I don't care if some people have money or not. I care about people having like an equal sense before society. Society and the law are fundamentally, in our sense, the same by these arguments.
Do you think so? Is your goal to make like a is your goal to make like a maximally equal society?
What is your definition of maximum equal?
Because I think like, would you agree that like human beings are like inherently unequal? Like some human beings are just smarter than other people at certain things, or have like a natural tendency.
No. So no, maximum. To use your phrasing of quote maximum equality of opportunity,
Yeah.
playing field. That means like I wish the only difference that exists between humanities is their personal abilities.
Okay.
Yes, but you might be better at me when it comes to law or Tomb Raider.
I don't know how to play Tomb Raider. StarCraft is my game.
Okay, I'm probably better at you than StarCraft.
I don't know, man. I'm Masters. What are you at?
I got better things to do.
Okay.
Proud bronze, high tier.
Hell yeah, dude. I wouldn't stand a chance.
But what I'm arguing is that it's going to be really hard for us to test our ability who's better at StarCraft if you have a computer and I don't.
Sure.
I mean, fundamentally, would you say that we should destroy the competitiveness of StarCraft community if we made people pay by the hour for their power during the game?
No, fundamentally, I wouldn't be in favor of buying people computers just so they could play StarCraft. That's, I think, the thing here.
I mean, if we're talking, well, no, but like fundamentally, StarCraft. If we're Blizzard, we're organizing a StarCraft community. So we want the interesting competitiveness to see who is truly the best at microing blink stalkers.
Yeah.
You do everything you can to minimize the differences in players that aren't personal ability. Like you don't want to have one have worse ping. That's going to be the thing that destroys so many tournaments.
Well, sure. Yeah, but you don't like pay for somebody to have like super good ping.
No. I'm not saying we're going to pay for someone that's super good ping, but like in theory, if you're having a competition between two players in StarCraft,
Sure.
on the same computer,
Sure.
like maybe they can bring their own mice. But I'm fairly sure there was a big controversy about players bringing different mice and stuff like that. But
Sure.
in theory, you try to make it the only difference between the players is their personal ability.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not a good example of competition?
In like the tournament
Is that
sense.
not the idea?
So like people, yeah, people. Wait, stop. So people can like bring their own mice, and people. By the way, I'm not sure this is the best comparison because the idea is that even when you have these tournaments, the people that go into these tournaments, like a lot of what they can do is determined by who they are, right? Like how long they can sit at a fucking computer and fucking play StarCraft. It's entirely dependent on their life circumstances. Just like, by the way, whenever you're like gonna go get like a job, like your life circumstances probably, a lot of that's predicated on that as well. But it's not necessarily like I don't think the goal is necessarily about, first of all, making sure that everybody has the exact equal chance at a particular job. The goal should be, okay, anybody who can do the job the best, right? And without coercion, right? This is like I think this is the best system.
So like Lectoid, again though, when it comes to like skilled things,
Yeah.
you want to have the only measurement being the skill.
Yes.
Who could buy the better mouse, which allowed them to cheat the game to click faster? That wouldn't be much of a competition.
Well, no, because then they're playing the game faster, right? Listen, would you rather fly in a plane that was built by an engineer who had better tools, or like an equal engineer that had worse tools? Which plane would you rather fly on?
So there's this great idea when it comes to baseball. You have two people hit a ball and run to first base. You've got one guy who trips on the way A and one guy who does it straight.
Okay.
They both make it there within the same amount of time. Probably the guy who tripped, because fundamentally he was at a disadvantage. Without that disadvantage, he probably beat the other guy to the base.
Okay, but he tripped.
Now, yeah.
So
the interesting thing is what happens if he doesn't trip.
But he then he would have gotten to the base first.
Yeah. So
But
We're losing out on the best player if we literally look at this one time and that's it. We should see what happens when we test it again and see if he doesn't trip or not.
well,
If he
sure.
consistently trips, then that's that's a failure of his personal ability.
Sure. Well, then the baseball team, what they're going to do is they're going to be making a mistake that's actually going to hurt their bottom line, right? Just like the company, by the way, would be making a mistake if they didn't hire the best engineer.
Bring your dick down a bit.
My dick is so hard right now. You won't even believe it.
Yes, in theory, you want the engineer the best tools, but fundamentally, if the engineers have the same tools, the better question is who's the better engineer.
Right. And so a big part of it's the company with the best tools is going to want to hire the best engineer to make the best planes, right? So people don't die.
Yes, but the debate is not about who has the better tools, because any good company can provide good tools to their engineers. It's about who's the better engineer.
Well, then the company has to compete for that person's labor. This is why wages. This is why wages are rising. By the way.
Wait a minute. You just pivoted. So
I was saying this.
That we need to equal in order to have the competition that find the best, highest skilled people. We need to have an equal.
I never said that. No.
Equal play.
No. I agree.
StarCraft players.
No. I agree.
Have a computer and one have a terrible ping.
So no, I agree that like. I think that like having equality of opportunity is like okay. That's sure, that's fine. I just I think there's obviously like a reasonable level that we can do this at that like doesn't create coercive acts, right? Or sorry, minimizes the level of coercive acts. And combine this with the fact that like honestly, I don't think that the StarCraft comparisons like I don't think that we should be even if it's any other kind of competition too. Like I don't think that sure I would prefer if everybody equal ping. But like if I can't afford a computer, if I can't afford ping, and I want to be the best person in StarCraft, then maybe I am the best person in StarCraft. Like I shouldn't be able to steal money from other people to make sure that I can play StarCraft. I should have to like make an agreement maybe with a team where they can like pay me to like have the best equipment, so then I can play StarCraft, right?
You notice how you pivoted?
These opportunities exist, right? If you are actually good at what you do, if you're actually valuable to the economy, you can do it.
I talk about this from a perspective like society. Like when I started, it's like
yeah,
we're playing a competition.
Yes.
I'm not talking about the individual. We're talking about the organization.
Okay.
If you're
we were talking about the individual.
If you're Blizzard, you benefit from having the most skilled players valuing each other in StarCraft. That means many things help make the competition more interesting, more exciting, more engaged because the skills are being judged at a higher level. You fly both of them to the place you're doing the competition to reduce the amount of ping between them.
Sure.
You also, like the reason StarCraft was a uniquely so competitive game was because for the most part, in South Korea, it's relatively cheap to get into StarCraft. It's about like a couple hours to enter a PC bang.
Yep.
Why in America, most you need to pay the full $60 price tag.
Sure.
The reason Blizzard started reducing the price on it because they realized in order to have more competition, they need to lower the barrier of entry. This is why soccer/football is one of the more fascinating sports in history.
Yep. In this case, it was profitable to do so. Yeah, I agree.
So if we swap out Blizzard by like general good, like it's key profitability. We swap out Blizzard for society. We swap out StarCraft for general benefits.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is better. Like,
no, if we're no, stop.
It seems to me like you are aware that you are actually not the best lawyer in your class.
Probably not. No.
There are probably people who are better at law than you.
Yeah.
But the only reason that you're a lawyer and they're not is because they didn't have the economic benefits that you did.
No. I have loans. Anybody. No. I have loans. Anybody can get loans. Anybody can get loans.
Yeah, not everyone can get.
Anybody can get loans from the federal government if they get into college, and college admissions is based off merit.
No, I wouldn't know. I would disagree with that.
I mean, the LSAT literally tests like your logic. It doesn't test your knowledge, right? It tests your ability to do logic.
The LSAT in Frobisher costs a couple $100 a test, does it not?
I mean, it does, but you can waive that, right? If you get a loan from the government, you can pay for that with the loan. FAFSA, you can use FAFSA money to pay for that.
You have to have the free time to take off, to take the study of the test. You have the freedom to transfer. Because I know the LSAT isn't offered like every month at your local library. It's offered like twice a year, I think, maybe 3 times.
It's offered like multiple times per year. You can take loans to pay for it. Like I have loans right now. I have student loans.
But now we're returning to it. Like, isn't it concerning that the only way one can advance itself is by indebting themselves to society instead of it being a right?
No, no. I think that if you're gonna get like a product,
once self betterment it benefits society.
I mean,
Typically,
I think a car is like a level of self benefit too, right?
how is the LSAT a product? The LSAT literally defines our generation. It is the demonstration of people's ability to defend the Constitution and the laws and freedoms of the individual.
I
So,
mean,
like, are you not going to take the legal oath? Or are you not going to respect the? Is it just a product to you? You know, the bar would be very concerned.
no, no. Obviously, like I'm gonna take the. But I'm saying like in terms of like the product is the education. Then yeah, this is absolutely a product,
No,
right?
the product. This is products are like Coca-Cola. Products is like the bag of cookies next to me. Your education is fundamentally human betterment.
What about a machine that you can use to make more money? Is that a product?
Do you have a printing machine? No,
Yeah.
Yeah, a printing machine is a product.
Okay, and I use this machine to make more money over the course of my lifetime, right?
Yes, but a printing machine is not education.
Okay, but if I go to school and I get an education, then I use that education, like especially with law, which is a specific education, how to do a particular job, and then I go ahead and do that job, and I use that job to make money for myself. Aren't I like not benefiting from that job? Aren't I like not benefiting from the product, right? Just like in the way that I would with a printing machine.
Yes, but you do have a right to monopoly on the idea of that machine. Can someone not also do that machine?
No, look, right now, and right now in American colleges, by the way, you can just show up if you don't want to take out loans. You can still like show up in audit classes, right? You can like you can read legal books, right? Like there's public access law libraries that you can go to. But the idea is like if you wanna like go through the educational process and like like literally learn the skills that you can use to make more money for yourself, right? Or like do the change that you want to see in the world, you have to like take a loan from the government, and then when you're making that lawyer money, you can pay it back. Maybe unless you're a public defender, and then you're either fucked or you can hope for the government to pay it back for you. Because because it sucks.
Okay, let's Lecter, you're like disdain of your fellow man. It's just disgusting.
I love people. I don't like coercing people. I like getting permission from people. That's what I like to do.
Lactoid says the law lets him ignore suffering, thus he will happily ignore suffering.
No, it's about preventing suffering that is coercion, right? It's about preventing people from doing terrible things to each other. It's not about like saying, "Oh, I have to steal your shit so this person can like pay off their fucking education, or this person can have like a free car loan." I don't know. Like I think that you should have to maybe. I think people who are more valuable to the economy should maybe be able to like use that value to pay for cool stuff for themselves.
But you and I both know like there's no one person who's X or Y valuable to the economy. Humans are like relatively disposable. It's more about the amount of them that you can assemble to do the most good.
Wait, so I agree with you that most humans are disposable, like even at the higher ends. I agree with you.
99.9%
Yeah.
of humans are probably disposable.
I
actually 100% humans are disposable.
So
The reality is there's nothing that makes any
Right.
individual human unique.
So I agree. I agree with you, but I think it's a gradient, not like an on or off, right? So there are there are people who are more disposable.
The master. Oh, some people are more disposable.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's disposable. There's no single human being that's more.
No, I think if we're like measuring honestly, like a doctor who's gonna go on to save like 20 lives is less disposable than like somebody who just sits in their basement like fucking like hurting people all day.
But is that the world you want to live in?
Where
I
what?
want a world where everyone has the ability to replace anyone if they are randomly killed by someone else. Unfortunately.
Well, I know
But
people.
I
Yeah,
believe
people are replaced.
maximum amount I want my goals for a maximum amount of human flexibility.
Wait, so everybody's good at everything, kind of thing.
Not everybody's good at everything, but everyone has the opportunity to be educated to be good at anything.
We have that. We literally, you know how much money we dump per capita more into public education than any other country.
Because it's captured by private colleges who are cheating, who are taking money on the FAFSA.
No. We spend more money on public education overall.
Yeah,
On
because due to corruption, due to inefficiency, due to mostly, again, it goes back to
Okay.
The money we spend is mostly loans to students. Not
No,
actual-
the government makes money off loans for students. Like the interest rates are high enough for the government to actually make money off that.
Yeah, but most
So it's not a
of it
loss.
comes back in a consistent time.
No, but it doesn't matter. Overall, the student loan program is profitable for the government, right? That's not like a per cost student.
But you're not imagining a bigger sense. Like how many students aren't educated because of fear of loans? Thus, how much GP is lost by people who aren't being educated, who aren't bringing in more money.
Okay, that's a different
Eventually,
argument though. But
for all we know, there could have been the next Apple 3.0 that had that less shitty product that could have
sure,
been worth billions of dollars more than our current economy.
okay.
But the guy didn't get it because he didn't get an education.
Sure, but this is a very different argument than the idea of like, okay, we are already giving more per capita like to students in our educational system than any other country, and yet you're saying that like for some reason Americans just don't have a right to an education. And by the way, we have also access to like student loans, right? A lot of money in student loans too. Some people are like literally take out like over $100,000 worth of debt, right? And that's by the way, that's just government loans. It's also like private loans as well.
And you're just general apathy. It's disgusting. It's just like, well, people have a right. People could choose to sell their kidneys or sell an arm.
It's not even selling your kidneys. It's like literally people investing in your future income. That's all it is. It's investing in people. That's all a loan is.
But economically, it's like consistent. Like the millennial generation is the most impoverished generation so far. Like, and that's mostly due to student loans.
I mean, I'm pretty sure like I don't think we're the most
They're not
impoverished.
hard.
No, we're not the most impoverished. Like in terms of
Since the Great Depression, actually, we are the
no,
most
no,
impoverished
and
generation of
no.
America.
This is not true. In terms of like overall amenities and by the way, in terms of like spending, we're pretty equal to the generations before us. Like we spend an equal amount.
People can spend money on porn on the internet. They're not poor. They have access to porn.
No, I'm saying like in terms of like access to like fucking like refrigerators and food and like cell phones and shit. Like
You and I both know that
computers.
by the true measure, like you're just dodging the idea on what poverty is. Like poverty is poverty. I don't care if you're a fridge or TV.
No, you're.
Regardless, how
I
much
know.
time do you spend? Are you anxious about how you'll be able to pay for things? Majority of Americans can't afford $500 in surprise spending. I don't care if they got a fridge secondhand from their grandma.
I mean, look. So if this makes you feel any better about my wacky beliefs, I will say that I think that again, like as I talk about in my pamphlet, we're gonna use that word, right? Well, it's a pamphlet. It's a pamphlet. It's a pamphlet. I do think I do think that wait stop. I do think that like taxation is theft, but I do think that like whenever you're levying thefts against somebody who's going to hurt more, like you can measure that harm, right, in terms of how evil it is. And so in this case, I actually think that the theft that we should be taking in order to try to maximize like consent should be directed at the people who it's going to hurt the least, which in this case would be like rich people, specifically in terms of like the estate tax, right? And so like I'd be in favor of like the first tax that I would get rid of if I got into power would be eliminating sales taxes, right? Because this is the tax that affects poor people the most. It's also incredibly inefficient. It lowers demand, and it's overall like a burden on our society, right? And then I would eliminate income tax for anybody making under $200,000 a year, right? This is gonna boost income for people who don't have a lot of means.
And then we'd raise taxes on the estates and wealthy people, right?
Yes, we would have to. I mean, wait. Oh, sorry. So if we had to, in order to afford the few systems that I would keep.
Oh my god.
But if we had to, then I guess then absolutely we would.
How do you like not get this? Like, come on, you can't help it. Like, you're literally indebting yourself. You'll probably never be able to pay off your student debts in the near future.
In the near future.
Years?
Look, Sats, I am a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. Let's be real about what the American dream is here, buddy.
Lactoid, I'm a member of the 1%.
I know, dude. This is bizarre, man. I just got my power turned on like 4 days ago, and so this is like your policies would help me, and my policies might actually I don't know if my policies would help you, because I do a lot of taxes would probably shift to you, right?
It's almost like I have this idea of like general welfare.
I know, right? Welfare, disgusting.
Okay, you and I both know what I mean by
I know.
benefit of humanity.
I know.
Like literally, like how can you look at yourself like, yes, I truly myself love all these student loans, and I love of having like these classes that are super competitive.
I don't love it.
How do you think, like, I am proud of my abilities as a lawyer because a vast percentage of the American population can't afford the opportunities that I currently have. I barely can because because I'm so impoverished because these things are so expensive. Like, dude, I'm not saying I'm going to make everyone a millionaire. I'm saying that I think every American has the right to go to the grocery store and not worry about what basic food they're paying.
I mean,
I'm saying that
we already pay for food stamps, right? And by the way, if Yang Gang gets elected, then they're gonna have $1,000 to pay for food, right?
That wouldn't do it because there'd be his his VAT would increase all the food.
Oh shit. Yeah, it might. I don't know how much it would increase it though.
Would probably upwards of double it. He just
Well, wait. Are food products under like subject to the VAT tax? I'm not even sure that's
yeah,
true in the European Union.
it depends on the state, but no, VAT taxes are just taxes on the wealthy. Unless you're gonna do like really strategic, like if you show us your driver's license and show that you're a member, like there are some places that do that, but it's purely like a tax on like tourists. Which sure, fuck tourists. But like,
Okay.
I mean, fuck them as in like I've had many romantic occasions with tourists in my place in the
Oh,
country.
okay. I see. Yeah. I see. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Um, like look again, like I want a world vast majority of Americans for like the basic purchases that they make in their lives, their home, their car, their education, they don't need to take loans out for that.
Hmm.
They want to buy a second home or a third car, sure, they can take out a loan for that. But isn't it strange that we think of yes, it is normal in human society where people need to take loans and credit out to buy these things that we believe are necessary. Strange to you that you reflect on it? Is it not strange to you that like despite like all the things you want to do that society like demands you must pay so much of it for, like how many like do you not think like I wonder if my law class would be more interesting with more people with a variety of backgrounds and perspectives on law if more people had the opportunity to be a lawyer. I would feel confident in my ability to get into law school knowing that every one of these motherfuckers go tried, but I like
No,
I still
I
need
think
a
the loans.
lawyer.
No, I think the loan system is great because first of all, it ensures that like, I think you're minimizing coercion, right? Because I guess you are stealing a little bit, but you're like that money is kind of going back to them, right? So that's something. And also combined
Yeah.
with the fact that like when you're having people that are choosing whether or not to go into a profession, they are they have to keep in their mind like, hey, I'm gonna have to be valuable with this that I'm getting, otherwise I shouldn't be doing it, right? Like if it was completely free, man, fuck, why not stay until school until you're like fucking 80, right? I mean, just learn a bunch of shit that you're never gonna use because then you'll be the smartest motherfucker on the planet, and then you're never gonna contribute to anything.
Well, no. Why? Here, I almost went to academia, PhD.
You,
So I will quote stayed in school for the rest of my life.
okay?
Why do you've got a pretty good idea of me based on our conversation of the past year?
Hmm.
Why do you think I'd want to enter into academia?
Why do I think you would want to go into academia?
Yeah, is it because I'm a loser, fail person that wants to just stay at home because I can't do anything? Only the unable can only teach and stuff like that.
No,
Do
I'm
you
not.
think?
I mean,
No, I think
I don't think. I mean, I don't think that. But then I don't know like how either of us would behave if we grew up in a society where we knew that we can just like literally take as much as whatever we wanted,
so.
and
So
without having to think about like actually paying it off or like actually able to think about like making money.
to it. The great thing about humans is we're incredibly ambitious characters.
Some of us
Like
are.
even the dumbest person you know, like the most pathetic human creature you know, like for you that might be the poor person around the corner who's like suffering in debt and has children. And that for me, it's this guy I know on the internet called Lactoid.
Oh shit.
No,
The shade.
yeah, but like fundamentally, like I'm not saying we're gonna make everyone like a superstar or model, or we're gonna pay everyone to have a career in Hollywood. But like, is it really gonna be the end of the world if people have enough? If people can like barely make it by on like various things, but have enough money and free time to like pay for their room and rent and board, and be able to get on a train and go like film a short movie with their friends on the weekends? Like, is that really gonna be the end of the world if that's something that everyone can do if they want to?
So it won't be the end of the world. I'm not again like going back to what I was saying before. Like I wouldn't compare it to like
I,
Stalinist Russia.
I would bet it would be economically boon for all the people who want to do things with their lives would do it because it probably a significant portion of things are profitable. As we know, more and more things that people don't want to do, like being cash clerk, cash register workers, or in-and-out burger folks, is being automated. Human labor is being less required. So now the focus is on the human capital of ability, skill. We must do everything we can to nurture that. Art and science are going to be things that lead the future, not raw human labor.
Sure.
Art and science are specifically like kind of like we measure the ability to do art and science by using like skill in a sense, like, oh yes, I am a skilled researcher, I'm a skilled chemist, product builder, etc.
Hmm.
We'd agree. So thus, we need to do everything we can to nurture that. That making people work as a cash register clerk in the year 2020, giving them the resources to do that.
Sure, I mean, we could automate their jobs away. Sure. I mean, this is what Yang is talking about, right? You automate their jobs away, and then you're gonna have
You
to
give
pay them
them,
a.
and you say, here's a grand, go fuck
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah, yeah. Because essentially, like, this is what Milton
Why,
Friedman.
why,
Wait,
why are they
this is what Milton Friedman said, right? Like, the idea is,
also
unfortunately, you have to like like
someone wants to
storehouse some
liquidate
people.
someone's like liquidate the vast majority of the human population because he thought like dirty poor people shouldn't exist.
No, he didn't say like liquidate them. He's saying that like Milton Friedman was in favor of the
Milton Friedman
of
was
a UBI. Milton
no.
Friedman was in favor of UBI because he recognized that with the advancement. By the way, by the way, there is going to be some level of unemployment because some people. And by the way, the people who are like chronically unemployed generally they are chronically unemployed because like they just can't get jobs, right? Just because the kind of people they are, right? But just
Sure. So, but what would be more and more beneficial for them? Here's an UBI, go fuck yourself. Or here are the resources to go explore your artistic and scientific talent.
no, but I'm saying like the kind of people who are like chronically unemployed,
Here- here-
they can't do that even if you like gave them the resources to do it.
okay, so who's the, so are you imagining like some like stoners, some like, are you imagining like some of the people on DGG who are just like home on Discord? Like, so like, okay, let's just say,
Unemployment's like was it like 3.6% or something ridiculous like that?
what's the underemployment percentage, Factoid? Do you know what it is?
I mean, I know wages are going up. 3.6% is the unemployment rate. That's so low.
Because people have multiple jobs. Because people are working at Walmart for slave wages.
Okay, well, wages are going up, right? Amazon just fucking announced they're going to raise their wage to $15 an hour through public pressure, not through a law.
And who publicly pressured them?
Bernie Sanders, and that was good of him, right? I don't mind if people want to like publicly pressure people to do shit, right? I'm fine with that.
But he violated Amazon's consent.
No, he didn't. He said like, no, fuck you guys, you should do this. He didn't like put a gun to their head and say you have to do this. He said no, you're gonna have to do this.
And I would bet under the system you like in communist Soviet China, the government or the private armed forces allied to a corporation like Amazon would shoot the protesters, would shoot Bernie Sanders,
No,
threaten them with violence.
a communist system.
Because well, you and I both know, like fundamentally, I say communism like ironic sense. So, like you and I fundamentally know, like that is like Russia, or not Russia. Current China is the modern example of what you want.
No,
Like you want people to have the freedom to oppress
no,
other people. Hey,
no,
look, it's just their consent. You no, like
no.
no one is
I wouldn't consider China to be like a
no
consensual
one,
system.
people have the power to. You can die. You can be impoverished in China. They don't care. You can throw your. I mean, they might be annoyed if you throw yourself out the building. That's why they have suicide nets.
You're thinking of Taiwan. I'm sure China probably has that
Yeah.
too.
No, like what? Do you mean, suicide nets? No, the suicide nets were in China.
I mean, they're also in Taiwan.
Sure.
But so China, so
You want like the post-industrial, like
no, I would consider China to be like a fundamental example of like non, like a
it's like
libertarian system.
China is a great example of like a nationalistic, hyper-capitalistic, semi-ANCAP system. Like
I mean, I'm not a nationalist. I don't think it's semi-ANCAP, right? There's a lot of government like involvement in everything. I mean, like literally everything is essentially planned.
Like government involvement to protect the property of the property owning class.
No, and to direct, like literally direct the property. Like, there's no like the market in China is literally like under like the thumb of the government, right? The government controls what happens.
Yeah. Is that what you want? Like you want the government to help protect property. That's what the government in China does.
I mean, don't you also want the government to protect property, like stop someone from robbing your house?
I want the government to ensure
like,
the general welfare of humanity.
Well, but also to like, but
protection of wealth. Sometimes that might require the protection of a certain thing.
But also, doesn't like, wouldn't you also want the government to like stop someone from breaking your house and stealing all your shit, right? Isn't that like a good thing?
Sure, but it's not that I want someone to not break into my house and steal all my shit. I don't want to live in a society where people are motivated to do that or desperate enough to do that.
Really? So your anger and like your like the wrong that was done when somebody breaks into your apartment or your house and like literally steals your shit. You think this is wrong just because like, oh, society should have never let it get this bad, or you think it's bad because like this individual should not have like violated my consent, like this is like this individual did a wrong thing. Like which do you think it is?
Do you believe in freedom of, do you believe in like a, not like a personal
determinism?
Well, determinism or like a social, do you believe in like actual people
free will
are not victims of their environment? Yeah, or people free will? Because
I don't know.
We're not. Like if you are
Even if we're
one way or
not,
another,
even if we're not, I don't think it matters.
it fundamentally does. If people are not in control of their lives, I mean, I will still blame someone for murder raping someone if they murder rape someone.
Right.
I
Why?
understand because they did it, but I understand why. Like the reason they might have done this is because of certain actions society is allowed to create.
Sure, but they did it, right?
So punish them, but understand like this is a failure of our system when this happens.
Yeah, I guess like I don't view things in like the kind of like punitive kind of like whether or not like they in the ultimate like cosmic sense they deserved it. It's more about like what is the rule, and then we apply this rule to a system, and like what is the answer we get? And the answer we get is like we shouldn't be coercing against people when we can help it, right? We should like try to minimize the amount of time we do this, the amount of times that we do this. This is like my way of viewing things.
Yeah, and I think coercion happens on a social level. If you were born in a certain place in the world, you are likely not going to live past the age of 30.
Right.
There's
Some
not a lot of
levels, some
intent
places, sure.
there. So,
Um,
like, what world is that a worthwhile world to live in?
I'm not like I don't really take this like anti-natalist. Have you ever seen like The Incredibles?
Oh,
You haven't seen it?
wait,
The first one.
the Disney movie?
Yeah.
Vaguely, that's the one with the red superheroes, right? Or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
red,
yeah.
yeah,
So like
sure.
Syndrome was like the main bad guy, right? And his goal was like he was gonna make all these superhero gadgets and give them to everybody. And then his thing with his what he said was like when everybody is super, no one will be, right? And this this quote, the idea of this is like if you define a term to include everything, like language only exists by like differentiating things, right? Like if you define something to incorporate everything, it really becomes like a useless word, right? So like when I'm talking about like coercion, I understand that like I guess people don't like choose to be born. Like this is like a coercive act because like you are born without your consent, right? And like where you're born is like you're born without your consent. I understand this, but like it's not like a coercive act to be born, right? Or at least it's not like it shouldn't be like in terms of like creating a consensual society. I don't think that we can reasonably say like, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to have kids because like this creates like this is like a violation of the future person's consent. I think this is like fundamentally like misunderstands like I just my goal is like to stop people from like one person doing a coercive act against somebody else. Like this is what I want to like minimize as much as possible. And
Sure, and
yeah,
and that's a lot of nice stuff.
yeah,
But I think fundamentally I have sympathy with when someone again is a victim of their circumstance.
mm,
There is some guilt and punishment we can levy on that person, but fundamentally that punishment is designed to reduce the chance that those actions happen again.
I mean that's only
Fundamentally,
part of my like goals. Like I have other goals when it comes to punishing people.
okay, no, but look, if why might we punish someone who does a crime?
I mean I think
Fine,
there's
fine.
in my opinion.
Our
So go
okay,
ahead.
sure. Okay, so the reason we punish someone for doing a crime, the person's already dead. This person, so if there's someone who has no children, their parents are dead, they have no connection, they sit in the woods on hermit, and they are murdered by a random person.
Hmm.
We can do fundamentally. There's no way the person who was a victim of this crime can be restituted to.
Yeah.
So, so thus, we actually punish people in society to reduce the chances of random murder and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is just a fundamental reality. Restitution might be a secondary action. It might be something that we play to and examined when it comes into justice, but fundamentally, we do it to reduce other crimes.
I mean my
And that's why,
goal.
and that's why there's a lot of work to say like we put someone in jail, we let them out a certain amount of time because it makes people understand like, oh, you don't like we don't you can be condemned to this. People can be better. People can improve. This
Sure.
benefits society because it you understand there's no determinism.
Right.
There's an alternative to this. Fundamentally, what is often understood as the other end of like criminal justice is create people or give people the desperation to commit crimes. Just society, we cannot allow any environments or situations that encourage people to commit crimes. So the options ends up becoming: do we kill, so abort, delete, etc. Anyone who
Abort.
whatever you want to call it, call it.
I mean that's an interesting word choice.
I'm like, look, do you know what my perspective on abortion is? I say even if that thing is a human life, I don't care.
Ooh, yeah, interesting. Why do you think?
The
Why do you
reality
say
is
that?
because the future of a young woman is more valuable than the potential future of an unborn, whatever you might call it.
What if it's a
That is
potential?
the reality.
Why?
Potentialism. We have got the potentialism on one hand, or the future of one young person on the other. The
What
reality
if it's like an
is,
older woman? What if it's like let's say like a 39-year-old woman who's like
even if
generally
it's a
pretty worthless to society?
39-year-old, even if it's a 39-year-old crack whore,
Yeah,
or in very stereotypes,
yeah.
types that might assume by on the alt-right, that person's future is more real and more conscious and more potential than any future of something unborn.
Wait, I would say like if we're talking about like potential, right? Like a 39-year-old person with like no future, I would say that like the infant would have a lot more potential like by default, right?
Oh, completely disagree. The
Why?
unborn is unborn. That potential child could die tomorrow morning.
Yeah, they might die, but
Cause it.
this 29 like this 39-year-old is like not going to accomplish anything in their life. They're probably going to be a drain in society, right?
How
And
do you
like
know?
so you need to measure like the what is the risk of
The
this child dying
potential,
tomorrow?
but the potential is greater.
The potential is not greater.
Yeah, but yeah,
But the
the
potential
window
for
is
what?
wider.
The potential for what?
The window is wider for that 39-year-old to do something. Further, like if we're gonna be really meatbaggy, simple
Meat
meatbaggy
baggy.
is the human birth of that 39-year-old woman. She's got organs that can be transplanted to someone else if she dies or self injures herself. An unborn fetus takes time for those to develop to be transplanted. It's really that simple.
Well, why can't we just like save the kid and then harvest the rest of her organs then while we're in there?
Because it takes time.
What do you mean it
It's
takes
that
time?
simple.
What do you mean it takes
It takes
time?
time. Potentials are potentials.
No. I'm saying like so the woman, the like the older like loser woman or whatever. Like why couldn't we just like take if we're just like literally keeping out like we don't care about like individual rights like the societies have rights like why not like keep the baby alive and then like kill the woman and then harvest all of her organs?
Because that would violate her consent because she's an
Oh, you
adult.
care
She
about
can consent.
consent. You care about
Well, it's
consent here.
because her consent is potential. She can consent to do things with her body.
But what if you can save like 9 people just
The
by killing
potential.
her? What if you can save like 9 people just by killing her?
So the reality. So now do you really want to play the trolley cart game? Is that what we're gonna do?
No, my question is like, would you? What? Tell me, like, would this
Do
39-year-old?
you
Like,
or Lacto? Do you want to speak into the microphone, and talk about your fancy to cut up a woman or something like that?
no, I don't want to cut up a woman. I'm just asking you, like, if we're talking, let's say there's like 8 people who like all need organs, and like if they don't get the organs, they're gonna die. Should we have the right to like take the 39-year-old woman who's like not going to contribute to society, harvest her organs, and then give them to the people who are
Because
going
the
to live?
reality is, a healthy 39-year-old has more potential than nine.
No, but the hypothetical is like she's a loser. She's like she doesn't have any like potential for to do shit.
How do you know people? Lactoid, I was a loser like 3 years ago. Yet here I am now, a member of the 1%, running political campaigns and doing things like what?
Okay, but like this person is like not like you.
Are you determinist? How do
No,
they go?
this
Are you in their head?
so you can do like a reasonable risk analysis and like there's like a very high likelihood chance.
So you're gonna argue that the value of the many
Yeah.
is more valuable than
No. I'm asking you, right? So like if I can prove to you that like in terms of overall percentage benefit,
I believe in individual,
individual.
and that potential and value is better nurtured by society that nurtures that
Well,
potential.
what about the potential of the 8 people that are going to die without the organs?
Those less because they're gonna die without organs.
Well, but
It's like
why not take the organs from the one person to save the 8? If we care about like the potential of the individuals, right?
we're like talking like the potential of like 8 people, but they have a chance to die, so it's like a lower percentage, or we have the potential of one person. And that's a more philosophical one, but it's always for me. It's one. It's bird in the hand versus two in the bush.
No, I'm asking you, like, if the hypothetical is, like, I can show you that, like, she is a match for these 8 people, and if we kill her and take her organs, right, we're gonna save 8 people, and these 8 people are like, even on an individual level, each one of them is much more likely to like be more beneficial to society than her alone, right? And there's 8 of them. If I can do this, and we do this, and like we institute this as a program and like very consistently this shows like a overall benefit, would you be in favor of continuing to do it if we save more lives just by violating one person's consent?
It need to be a statistically extreme number, and eight's not enough.
Why would it be extreme? Why
Because her potential of potential of a full life is more valuable than the potential of 8 people
Their full lives?
who are near death.
They're
They're near death.
no,
Or
they're not. They're
will
not like
not
near
live.
death. They just need the organ transplant. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're pretty near death. I mean, person doesn't need one person needs 8 people need organs. One person doesn't.
Yeah, AP. Yeah, they need organs, but like they're okay right now. Like the likelihood chance of like they'll accept the organ is very high, and they're probably going to be okay as long as they get this organ.
I'm hearing a lot of like potentials, another potentials.
That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. That like the potential of this one person's like way more valuable than the 8.
The reality in the same way. Well, let's flip it. One person has $1 billion and 8 people don't.
Okay.
You're starving to death.
Okay.
Much less potential robbed of that individual with $1 billion than there
Okay.
is of the 8 people starving to death. But
Okay.
I guarantee you, because of how the worlds of economics and mathematics work, there's only so much you can do with a couple $1 billion. You don't need billions or trillions of dollars.
Would you kill the rich
Oh,
people? Would you kill the rich person to give the money to the 8 poor
You
people?
don't, you don't need to kill them.
Well, let's say you had to. Would you do it?
There's no killing necessary.
I mean, some people disagree with that.
I, then, I mean, in a like a political revolutionary standpoint.
Yeah.
So like, if we have no in terms of from a modern sense, there is no need for violence
Okay.
unless it is defensive violence. That is just the fundamental reality. Like, if we're going to be like, do we need a violent revolution in the United States of America in 2020? No, we don't need a violent revolution in the year 2020.
Okay.
2021. No, I'm kidding. We don't. We don't need a violent revolution.
Sure. So my answer to this would be, I don't think it's okay to grab somebody off the street and take their organs for the 8 people, because
What if I
they,
had
be-
billions of
because
dollars?
because they don't have a right to her organs. And like if they took her organs, even if it would benefit them, that would be violating her consent. Even though like I guess even if they die, like oh that's not you can't consent if you die. It doesn't matter. Like the fact that they're dying isn't the fault of the 39-year-old woman. Like this is like my answer to this question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very progressive for you to not say that that rich people shouldn't be able to pay to have poor people who are ripped off the street have their organs taken.
I got a question. What do you think about a plasma donation? Do you think this should be okay, like legal? Do you think this is okay? Like, or let's say like the plasma donation in terms of like paying people for it. Do you think this is okay?
Do I think it's okay, or do people have the right to do it under our current society?
Like, do you think it's okay that companies have been founded with that like their entire business model is to like take plasma and blood from people and like sell it for a profit? Do you think this is like okay?
I mean, it's an example of how economically desperate people are for income, so that's not good. But in
Okay.
terms of like people exchanging income for income, I mean, I can't blame people for doing things out of needs for starvation. They become victims of their circumstance. I can blame people for violating the consent, as you would put it, or doing harm upon other people. But I wouldn't blame anyone for doing what they need to survive.
Right. So do you think like doing this would be more or less coercive than like forcing people to give blood?
It's people consenting to donate versus requirement. However, now let's say
But they have to donate, right?
now, wait a second. Now, let's just use blood because it's simpler, like
Okay.
because the phrasing of like transfusions like that.
I mean, plasma is kind of like similar uses, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
To my knowledge, if people will donate plasma, they don't die. They're not like they don't suffer a ton of physical harm. You can actually pretty easily and consistently give blood or plasma if you time it right.
Okay.
Let's say there was a moment of like human desperation, blood in order to save hundreds of lives.
Yeah.
Say it would be quite understandable if society didn't demanded people or legally or financially penalize people. Well, the donation of blood to save people's lives, assuming the donation of blood wouldn't cause any physical, long-term, or even short-term damage to people who were donating the blood or giving the blood, because it would save the lives of hundreds of people. Because fundamentally, giving some blood or plasma does not kill you. Having both your kidneys taken will kill you.
Well, having like one of your kidneys won't. Like, do you think that people should be like forced to give up one kidney?
Should people be forced to give up one kidney?
Yeah. There's people right now who like can't get a kidney and they're dying. Like, you think that it's okay if, like, let's say I got a job with like the government, like kidney enforcement agency, and then I like broke into your house in the middle of the night, put a gun to your head, and said like, look, I'm sorry, but like we're gonna take your kidney now.
There's a level of resources that are required that would be comical and be a violation of such.
No, I mean, I think it'd be like I could probably like get like a better cost effective like kidneys per day if I took it by force than like because like kidneys right now are very valuable, right? I mean, obviously, like with people who like willingly donate kidneys, like we wouldn't have to force it out of them, but like obviously that level's not enough right now.
I would note a kidney is far more valuable for one human's personal health, or two kidneys we worry about one's personal health, than $1 billion off of a multi-billion dollars.
We're talking.
You're trying to equate the morality of taking a bodily organ with that of getting some percentage of an incredibly wealthy, financially comfortable person's wealth.
Yeah, but like people who donate kidney, like one kidney, are going to be fine.
Not technically, no. Oh, in terms of like your ability to process alcohol, your ability to exercise and work and move and stuff like that. Yeah, it would be like, sure, in theory, based on how, like robot legs, you don't need your legs. But I think most people prefer to have their legs. So again, fundamentally, I find it comical that you need to equate taxation with bodily organs.
No, I'm just saying like how far. I understand like a level of scale is like a little bit of difference, but like
a level of income that's been consistently proven. I think it's about $300,000, where people don't get any happier after that. And it seems to me, I don't know, it's probably what that equates to financially. People never have to worry about their health. They never have to worry about where their next meal is going to come from. They never have to worry about their basic level of education and work and employment and personal safety and security. They probably have the financial ability to take plenty of time off if they need it or want it. If we collectively organize human society, that would probably equate to we need to spend about $250,000 tops on the high end per human being. I would bet probably less even.
what if you did that where you said, okay, everyone making over $300,000 are going to lose all the money, and every company wait,
No, I would not lose all their money. I would say we would progressively tax it at, well, let's use FDR. Let's use FDR for example. Well, World War II, it was 90% income on top percentage. So top percentage of the United States is being the 1%. You need to have to be the 1%. 1% need to have a couple billion. I mean, a couple million. But let's just say after $1 million, income is taxed at 90%. Yeah, let's say that. I mean,
after $1 billion. Wait, after $1 million, you said?
Let's say, yeah. Yeah. Actually, no. Fuck it. Let's just make for simplicity sake. Let's say the 1% of 1%.
Wait, so you'd be okay with somebody making like $1 million to keep all that money? You'd be okay with that?
Keep it. It's still going to be taxed, but let's say everyone after no human being can have more than $1 million without being taxed at 90%.
Right.
I would bet probably most people could still live pretty comfortably on $1 billion.
I would say so. Yeah.
But I would bet probably would.
Yeah.
I would bet that all the extra tax money goes reinvested into a lot of poor people so they can have better education, better housing. They would live much happier lives. They would probably put more money in the income, which means there'd be more money for people who currently hold $1 billion, and with the remaining next couple billion being taxed 90%, because they own a large portions of the economy. Literally, companies like Apple and Amazon are suffering because the average person has so little money spend on the products that they sell. The American economy is readjusting to sell products at incredibly smaller portions of the population.
What do you think the minimum wage should be?
It's often debated how much it should be based on the area and how much the cost of living is.
Yeah.
But let's see. What is the cost of living in Los Angeles? Well, first, the big question is housing commodified into the system or not?
Well, I'm asking because, like, you said Amazon, but we all know like Amazon did raise their minimum wage to $15 an hour.
So, according to Investatopia, which is I don't know what that is. And of course, they don't have an easy little thing. So let's just try the next one.
The minimum wage in LA is $14.25 per hour. That means that Amazon is paying more
Not
than the minimum
yet,
wage.
I don't think yet. I think it's supposed to be. It's. Oh no, it
It's-
is, but it's supposed to scale up.
Yeah,
more.
it becomes effective July 1st, 2019. So literally tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday, LA. Trying to find. Well, I mean, the average cost of a housing, whether it be apartments or homes, is apparently 2,100. Let's just say housing is decommodified for simplicity, or no, let's say housing is not commodified. Oh, wait a minute. There's a good example of this. There's Denmark is a good example. They have an incredibly high minimum wage age combined with.
So I'm pretty sure the Scandinavian countries don't actually have minimum wage. Like how they operate is their unions are negotiate the wages with the companies, and their unions are pretty powerful. So the overall wages are higher, but they don't actually have like a set minimum wage.
The minimum wage is 1660 at minimum.
In Denmark?
Are working on with the minimum working 37 hours a week.
Yeah, so in Denmark there's no official minimum salary in Denmark as a whole. Most minimum wages in the country hover around 110 DKK per hour, roughly 1660. So like that's roughly what like people get paid. There's no like legally enforced minimum wage.
Okay, so I actually know. Here's a good example. What if I recall the minimum wage back at the height of the American economy in the 1950s? I think if you calculate for inflation, is about $35 an hour.
I've heard this meme. It's kind of weird because like wages are going up now. So like I don't know
Okay, so
how accurate that is.
let's say for here, I'm the noble leader of the People's Party, and you're Amazon or evil corporate chasing the Scooby-Doo gang off your property so you can sell it to investors.
Sure.
Let's say we make minimum wage $30 an hour. How about that? That's probably the actual cost when it comes to what it would take in our current society. Still pay for private insurance, still pay for private housing, private education, loans, and all that stuff. Is probably $30 an hour. I would bet.
I don't I don't think I don't know. I think paying people $30 an hour is probably a bad idea.
Why not?
Because
More
people
money.
because people aren't worth $30 an hour.
People aren't worth money. People are worth it. Just that you can't put a price on human life.
You can put a price in like human labor though. And that's what people are paid in according to.
Why aren't people? But so if we said at minimum people had to be paid at minimum the cost of living in each city.
By the way,
I mean,
the average income in 1950 was $2,992 annually, and this would be approximately $29,000 today.
I don't believe that. I don't.
I mean, I just literally just Googled it.
Okay.
So Google could be wrong.
Inflation was much more than 900 than 2000 than going from 2000 to 2,900.
Well, so from 1950, the annual average wage was for middle class citizens was $2,992 annually. This would be approximately $29,000 today. That means
Well, no, not at minimum wage. Just check average wage is probably the better number.
so, and then right now the average middle class income is between 40 grand to 120 grand. So that like even on the low end,
But
there's
middle class income isn't the right number for this still.
Right.
In the middle class.
yeah, but with this, so I literally just like look up cost of living in the 1950s. I'm looking at like what I'm saying is like if we compare the money to like today's money, that the middle class seems to be doing a lot better, right? 29,000 compared
There's
to
very few people in the actual middle class.
um,
Okay, further, if we get into real thing of economics of it, who do you think is more likely to be living a middle class lifestyle? Someone making $40,000 in Wisconsin, or someone making $100,000 in Los Angeles? What equates to a more cosmopolitan middle class lifestyle? You think?
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, wait, what was the first number for the Wisconsin one?
40. Here, what's comfortable upper middle income in Wisconsin? What city?
It depends. I'm not gonna say where I'm living, but
What's your home state, or what's
I mean,
just so we
it
can keep it in
depends. It
perspective?
depends where you are. It can range, right? Like if you're living in like one of the
In the nice in the biggest city or the nicest city in the state.
yeah, be prepared to drop a shit ton of money.
Yeah. So if that's what we consider the minimum, and that most people are going to be one standard deviation below that, how much would that cost? Is it $100,000?
Um, yeah, maybe,
What would it
maybe,
take
maybe,
for the
maybe more than
average
that.
to be paid? How much? Okay, so what would it take for us to bring the average income from of every American from $40,000 to $100,000?
Sixty
It would
thousand
probably
dollars. That's
require
math.
yeah, it would probably require a minimum the doubling of minimum wage.
Well,
This is like
most Americans don't get paid the minimum wage, especially people in the middle class. Literally, people who get like most people don't even get paid the minimum wage now. Like the vast majority of people don't.
okay, so we mandate every American be paid at minimum $30 an hour. Like you're talking in like some semantics with me. Like, yeah, I tragically people aren't paid minimum wage in most parts of the country.
Yeah, vast majority of people don't live
Minimum
minimum
wage
wage.
is too low in various parts of the country. I agree.
Yeah, and I think that people should like get paid what their like the value output that they provide is, right?
Oh, so Lactoid, if I think you're legal, so do you think if people don't have value, they should not be? I mean, if people can't like do something, they should just be left to die.
I mean,
Like,
so I think that if people can't do something, they shouldn't get paid $30 an hour. Like that's pretty far away from dying.
but I'm not saying that's because they're valuable or good. I'm just saying that's what it costs to actually provide these people
Yeah, so it's
the
cost like
services they
live in
provide.
like a middle or upper middle class lifestyle.
So I'll negotiate you down to like 80,000. Like,
Still, that's a lot of fucking money. $80,000 a year.
well, that's the tragic reality of what it costs to live in this country.
No, that's the cost of what it lives like to fucking buy a house and shit. Not everyone should be able to buy a house
Why not?
because they're not. They literally don't
Because
generate the
not the
value
American
for a house. Well,
enough value they deserve
no,
to
the
be left
American, no, the
behind.
American, no. Not owning a house doesn't mean you like left to die and suffer. Like you can live in apartments. That's a thing, right? I'm doing it right now.
You think you could not be more productive if you lived in a home?
I don't know. That seems like a
I do
weird.
know. I know. Now that I'm not living with my parents, I'm generating income. I'm a member of the 1%. Like I'm like, man, like imagine how good in law school you'd be if you
You
had my
should
kind
you
of
should
income.
you should donate all your money. You should donate all your money to the poor people.
Oh, every dollar. No, look, man. I live in the society I exist in. I want to create a social society, but I don't live in a social society. I won't live as a socialist. I
Okay, interesting. Okay.
live like the
I
aristocrat.
live like a capitalist every day, stats.
Yes, and you live in poverty. Congratulations.
I don't really. Hold on.
Why is it?
I don't really live in poverty. Let's be honest here. Like, there's homeless people. Like, I'm not gonna say like I'm fucking live in poverty. Like, I'm a student, right? Like, it's like student poverty. It's like the kind of poverty where like, yeah, you're poor, but like you're gonna get a job
Like
afterwards.
yeah. So it's almost like there's a two-tier system between like people who are really impoverished and the people who kind of LARP in poverty. It's like that because of like
Well, right, but
economic.
like, so some people are like in poverty because like they're literally like they're never gonna provide like the value to society where like that provides.
So do homeless people deserve to live in the street?
I'm not even sure like deserve is really a good question to ask. I mean, right
Well,
now,
I mean,
by the way, right now there's
why,
plenty of shelters, like charitable shelters and fucking churches and shit where like they literally go and stay for free
why do you take out student loans? Why not live in the shelters?
because
Why did you
that
take out student loans? You could have been more effective with your economics if you just
so
lived in a shelter.
I can, but I guess like I personally prefer not to.
I would bet money the vast majority of homeless people prefer to live in a home and not live in a
Sure, but
shelter.
the thing is when you give somebody a loan, like you're always thinking about like what's the return on the investment, right? You don't give loans to somebody who you know you're not gonna who's not gonna be able to pay it
So
back.
here's a crazy idea. So do you know what fundamentally like
You know, fundamentally
what
what?
if what if the American government loans every American a certain amount of money every year, or loans it to them in like services like healthcare, and then human society pays it back to them in the form of interest, or let's just call them taxes. Like you're debating semantics here with me, Eli.
Yeah, I would also be pissed if somebody like came up to me and said, "Oh, by the way, I took a loan out in your name without your consent."
Yeah,
I'd be pissed about that.
Lactoid, you owe the government a lot of money. Like they should, like why did you pay? You're
Wait,
stealing
wait.
from them. You're stealing from the government. Pay them
I
back.
mean, in a way, I agree that like we live in a society that's fairly coercive, and like people do like get like coercive goods, sure. I agree. And I would like to minimize that, but I mean like a lot of it's not in ways in like tangible ways that I can pay back, right? Like when I go walk in the street, like I understand that like I am using something that was like stolen for.
You can't pay back your debt to society. That doesn't sound very.
I mean,
Well,
I can like donate to charity and like I intend to when I get money because like I think that's like a good thing to do. I think that's what should happen.
So like I'm an employer. I put money into the economy.
I will put money in the
I
economy
put
soon.
more money into the economy.
You absolutely do, yeah.
More valuable, as you say.
Yeah, yes, you are more economically valuable than I am. Yeah.
Well, I believe you should lose your vote and I should get 2 votes.
I mean, I don't think democracy should be like powerful enough to like be a big deal when it comes to like fundamental human rights. I don't think people should be able to like vote waste other people's rights.
Like rich people shouldn't get 2 votes, so I'm thinking I'm gonna get 2
I
votes.
mean, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think maybe like
I expect a phone call on election day for me and for you to call me and say, okay, Mr. Smith, I would. Oh, should I give my real last name? Whatever. Oh, I should.
very common last name, Mr. Smith.
Oh yeah, no, I need to edit this out. Ah, shit,
Yeah.
I better edit this out.
I can't edit it out. I can't edit videos. Remember?
Oh,
You want me just to not upload it?
I don't know, Lactoid. I wanted to make this a more focused conversation. This has been an entertaining conversation. We haven't talked in a while, but this is if you want to upload it, I won't stop you.
Okay.
You're free to find my name. I guess my last name is a bit easy to hide behind it being Smith, but hey. Oh, no,
Yeah.
my new username is gonna be Smith. I like that. It's nice and.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's your call.
This was dumb. I should blah.
You ever seen The Matrix?
No.
Really? Oh shit, dude.
Oh wait, no, yes, I've seen The Matrix. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I am Agent Smith.
Agent Smith.
I'm trying to prevent you, Mr. Anderson, from giving the red pill out to all those wide-eyed libertarians and like liberating themselves from like my Soros-filled society.
So in 2000 there was 2.4 million Smiths, 1.9 million Johnsons, and 1.5 million Williamses in the U.S. I've never met somebody with the last name Williamses.
Is
That's
that
weird.
your last name?
No,
Okay.
that's not my.
God, we are terrible at not. I'm terrible at not doxing myself.
I don't know. I don't think you're doxxed, but you know.
Okay, whatever. Like, so maybe I should change. That's why I should change my name too on Discord. I keep debating what I should change my name to.
Well, yeah, because now that there's the bad stats or whatever.
You were there for that, right?
I was there for that. Yeah.
God, I was like, Leica, how could you?
For sure.
And it's just like, oh.
I do. Well, we should be wrapping up pretty soon, though. I have work tomorrow. I gotta go slave away for my capitalist overlord.
I need to go watch the creation of capital by my employees who I own. I think I might play some StarCraft once.
Hey, we should play StarCraft. I'll beat you. Pretty straightforward.
I'm terrible at StarCraft. I really just play Hearthstone because I'm a terrible human being.
Oh shit, that's bad. Yeah, I'm in favor of like a revolution for that, like ending Hearthstone players. But that's about it.
Me too. Me too.
Wow. Okay. All right, dog. Any last thoughts we have?
I am Agent Smith. You will never find me or take me alive. Oh, how did I get Smithy in there? Oops. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't do this podcast idea thing. This is a dumb idea.
Agent Smithy. You didn't have fun with me?
No. Like I had fun talking to you. I'm kind of spoiled by your terrible politics. I thought you had slightly better talk politics, at least based on my memory. But
Yeah. Well, you should have known what you're getting into.
I got like some really nice people to like be okay with me interviewing them over the next couple of days. Like, how the fuck did I let him go? I'm gonna be terrible interviewing them.
Oh, dude, have fun with Leica. Some of that tanky shit.
Like I was agreed to it yet, but like I've actually got like some actually notable people with like blue check marks and shit like that. Like, how the fuck did I pull this off?
I don't know, man.
Uh,
I'm the next big name in libertarian politics. You know, you had the privilege of interviewing me before I became famous.
Libertarians aren't don't become big names. They're
I don't
made
know.
into big names.
No,
They're
Ben
all, like,
Shapiro. Ben Shapiro became a big name, right? All by himself.
Ben Shapiro wasn't a big name till he got Coke money to get
Coke
his
money.
shitty news. Till he got his shitty news site off the ground. Like
Yeah, he was
like,
writing shit when he
those-
was like fucking like like late teens. Like he was already writing shit. Like he's a talented motherfucker.
yeah, and I wrote things on like I wrote fan fiction on fanfiction.net.
Oh, it's
My
different.
dude.
He also got into Harvard, right? He went to Harvard Law School. That's like a big deal, right?
Great. His parents bought it. Like
His
he's
parents-
from a very
you-
wealthy family.
So I understand like that whole. I don't think he's from like a very wealthy family. I know he's like definitely not poor or whatever. But like I don't. I know there was like that big scandal where people were like buying their way into Harvard. I don't know if that's what happened with Ben Shapiro.
Everyone buys their way into Harvard.
I don't know if that's true.
Regardless of the factor, like even if he did go to Harvard, that doesn't make him like a better human being than anyone. That doesn't make him more talented. It means he can get into Harvard.
I think that it probably
exactly what happened. He went to UCLA, then he went to Harvard.
Yeah, I think it probably makes him like more like talented, right? I think like not everyone can do that.
Sure, and like the same like the Unabomber was talented in getting into Harvard at a young age. Like it just makes you
Yeah, sure. He probably was. If he went to did the Unabomber actually go to Harvard?
the Unabomber. What's his name? Fucking Kerensky or something like that.
I mean, look, if he went to Harvard, he's probably pretty talented. Good for him.
Yeah, and talented at making bombs.
Okay, well then he was
Ted Kaczynski went to Harvard.
sure, and we can disagree them like on a lot of things, but like he is still like I think you can probably say he's talented, right?
I think Harvard has a pretty good record when it comes to like creation of like crazy people and like war criminals.
I mean, they also have a pretty bad record when it comes to like openly discriminating against like Asian applicants, right? With that fatty affirmative action, right?
I mean, yes, I also think Harvard should be turned into a public park.
Jesus Christ.
It is a den of scum and villainy. And
It's Tatooine. Huh.
yes, it is a desert with only large slugs and chained women in male bikinis and lots of skulls.
Yeah.
Paradise.
All right, man. Well, this is
Oh, come on, we didn't get to the part about how you hate Muslims.
we could do that for next podcast, dude. We can talk all
No,
about.
it's just-
I already have a video on my YouTube channel anyway about how I remember how I rip on the Muslims, right?
Oh God, lactoid.
I'm just saying, right? I mean, if you look at the numbers,
Oh.
I am a data-driven individual. That's what I like. That's what
No, you're not. There's
I am
no
a-
data on the-
data-driven individual, and I concede it. Like that one website I looked up says, like with the whole Social Security thing, like I was like, hey, the numbers seem to show something different. I'll give that up. But I mean, we can go through the numbers when it comes to Islam shit.
The vast majority of Muslims do not commit violent radical crime. The vast majority of Muslims across the world don't believe in any more theocratic government than fucking the Republican Christians.
So that's not true.
Are you gonna say so?
The second claim is not true. The first claim is true. Like obviously, most Muslims aren't
The
killing
Sharia law
people.
thing? I mean, how many
Sharia law thing, yeah.
Christians do you think believe? How many Christians do you in America? I think actually is good at talking about this.
Wait, we got to talk about this next time because like it's late. We're gonna go off in a whole.
This is your failure. Like, it's 9 o'clock in the great in the
Yep.
human mind.
Well,
you are. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I recognize the limitations placed on me though because of my socioeconomic status, and I'm acting within them because I'm a responsible individual.
How do you? Expect
I'm living within my means, Agent Smith.
How do you expect me to put money into your Patreon? The fund your libertarian takeover of the American system by like astroturfing it if you do not stay up late, slave away from my profit.
All right. Next video though, we'll definitely talk about
Okay, so this is
The Muslims.
was a big practice thing. I don't like do a consistent like I would appear on like talk but to you about like podcasts like that. Like I really do think you have terrible harmful politics to human society, and I feel guilty whenever I talk to you.
You feel guilty?
And
Why?
you're fighting like terrible ideas and people. Like you're gonna put this conversation or other conversations on your YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and
Well-
the people who are gonna watch it are gonna feel partially because like they can see your face on camera. They're gonna feel more empathetic to you because that's the primary motivator.
My beautiful face, right? Yeah.
us, they're going to take a side inside with you when it comes to your terrible politics. In your terrible products, politics will do more harm to more people. And I'm aiding and abiding that. Helena,
I don't think that's true. Like, look, first of all, I don't know. I think that I gave you like this was not like a monologue, right? This was a debate. This was a discussion of ideas. We all are like this is a political discourse, right? This was not like a propaganda video. And I'm not going to edit the video like this. I'm not even going to edit the video, right? So it's not going to be dishonest. Like it's just going to be straight up.
Yeah, if I can just post it, who cares?
Okay.
My name's changed a dozen times. No, you won't find me in Los Angeles with my last name Smith. There are 39 other Smiths who also share my first name. You'll never find me.
Oh shit.
There are 3 that own political consulting companies in SoCal, so you might find me through that luck, but you probably won't find me there.
I mean, my name is like I don't know. My name's kind of like.
No, don't dox yourself, man.
Yeah, my name's.
Do you go by Lactoid? You're showing your face, which is brave. I wouldn't show my face on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, like I go by Lactoid. Like I probably give my first name. I don't really want to give how my first name is. I'm not going to give it how it's spelled, but it's Alexander. But I'm not going to give it how it's spelled or the last name. But so yeah.
That's fascinating. Like I would not have the guts to put my face out in public on the internet. Like
yeah, man.
I'm curious. Like, is your ambition like for this to actually become like you'll do it for fun and maybe you'll become like the next internet YouTube lawyer guy?
I don't know. Like I think that I can. I think I have fairly unique takes. I think that I
mean, there are plenty of people on YouTube who have terrible.
Sure. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I know. But like,
the consent thing might do well on market level. It's terrible politics. It's essentially the next version of like the death tax or.
The death tax is like a good tax actually. I think
it's hilarious. That's one of the few things you have good politics on.
Yeah, that's a good tax, man. Because I think about it, right? Like, what would I?
Anti-aristocracy. I agree.
Yeah, like, what would I prefer to take? Like, would I prefer to take the money that like poor people are working hard for, or that like super rich people it's not going to affect them that much, that they're like literally getting it without working, right? Like when you just completely compare these two like types of theft, it's very clear that like one is worse than the other. And so, like, you're going to have to.
It makes you think, like, maybe I should keep talking to you because I feel like 1 or 2 more good conversations. You talking to someone dumb, and you realize, like, it's all from. I do want you to take note because, like, are you being honest or is this a bit?
I'm absolutely being honest. I'm absolutely being honest. This is me.
100% your political opinions.
Yeah, this is like what I believe, man. This is what happens like with a libertarian outgrowth from like a Marxist theory of value, right? Like it's the fundamental level.
I understand, like the vast majority people who argue like quote conservative politics or right wing politics in America, especially on YouTube, are doing it for personal profit. They don't believe a single word they say. Like your ideas are loved by no one except people who pay for people who just have say those ideas. The vast majority of people.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear. Like, you know how long I've been in DGG and like arguing about this. Like, even obviously, like not like in a televised way. Like, the vast majority of my like I have one video on YouTube. I'm coming out like this is gonna be probably my second fucking video. Like, the vast majority of talks I do, like, are not televised. They're not like for profit. I'm not even making profit on my YouTube channel. I'm not making profit doing any of this. This is literally just for fun. And like, it's for fun. And like I just want to get my ideas out there, right? That's what this is about.
You got to invest into that, like paying for the membership to Destiny's channel and then talking to her for 5 minutes. I could totally launch your YouTube career. Like that's been I launched a YouTube career like 4 or 5 people are just talking to him on like his little like fan.
Yeah. Wait, how much does that cost? Costs $5?
$5 or an Amazon Prime account. Like I did it once and it was basically.
And you got to talk. You got to talk to him.
Like I live a couple blocks away from him. I've shaken his hand a couple times.
Really?
It's LA, man.
Damn.
I've like it's celebrities and shit like that. Like
damn, dude, that's crazy. No one ever comes here in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Government like drives income and economic benefit and welfare and economic development and freedom here, and not your Scott Walker government.
I mean, he's out now. We have that other fucker, dude.
Yeah, but the Republicans also have like gerrymandered the state like crazy. So
yeah, they have the majority. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well,
When the revolution comes, I will vouch for you. The theocratic fascism of the Republican Party, and go
uh,
with me to California. You might have to like pretend to be my gay lover, but hey.
okay, I'm pretty sure I'll be killed for being a class traitor or whatever you guys say or whatever.
Oh,
But I don't know.
the best thing about being a commie about being a commie is like, look, man, the same way it's like arguing. It's like you'll put in academia, you'll in law school, and you'll be like your politics on like legal, at least from our conversations, isn't terrible. You've got all the good legal perspectives, right? I think from our conversations.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm a
First
little.
human being on the Supreme Court, to my knowledge, based on our conversation. No, to my knowledge.
I mean, maybe we'll have a whole nother conversation, and you might wind up hating me again too with that.
What are you saying? Your whole thing is like taxation at that, though. You'd be a terrible human being to have on a court.
I'd be a great justice, man. I would be invalidating so much shit the government tried to
You
do.
said yourself that like
Beautiful.
all judges are terrible. So I think that's fascinating.
Wait, whoa. Let me clarify this. I said that I think, generally speaking, there is a problem with arrogance among judges. I think this is a fair statement.
Would you not be against putting things up by plebiscite first, at least for the Supreme Court,
I think that'd probably be worse.
because of
Cause
popular decisions would be done by
yeah,
popularity?
cause like yeah, you would get instances where like burning the flag would become illegal, like punishable by like a criminal penalty, and like this would be an instance like so bad that I would like no. There has to be there has to be a method to this, right? And like law is the study of that science.
But I think the vast majority of other good things would happen, like an end to gerrymandering would happen. A secure airing of the people's right to choose for abortion would be guaranteed.
I mean, but it wouldn't be necessarily like it's 48-48 right now, right? Like if
I think of a solid public information campaign, it would be a super majority.
oh, you mean propaganda campaign?
No, I think that, no, I'm speaking honestly, an honest educational campaign.
Well, it's a philosophical question though, so like you would have to like.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's completely a decision of like there are people that believe women are baby factories.
No, no.
Like,
The pro-life people, like I do believe they genuinely believe like this is a life,
no,
and like
don't.
yes, they
No,
do. Yes, they do.
Okay. It's one part Christian, like American theocratic, like escapism. Cause like, oh, my life might be fucked up, but if that baby was in the world, maybe it would be less fucked up. Like, have you seen what like the people who stand outside Planned Parenthoods? Like, if you actually like the anthropology of examining them, like they're all incredibly fucked up people. Like, you could easily see like fucked up as like Syria, Iraq. These are where our ISIS people would come from. They'd be the ones blowing up buildings, stuff like that. Like, these people are immeasurably damaged by capitalism. Like, fundamentally, their poverty has like motivated extremism, and nihilism, so not seen on the Western world since potentially the Crusades, or Nazi ideology.
Jesus.
No, the thing that keeps me up at night is not like if the American Nazi Party will win, but like if the theocrats will win.
Sure.
Because the theocrats are actually true believers. The neo-Nazis just kind of know, like, yeah, I hate being poor, I'm gonna blame someone for it. The theocrats,
I don't think
like,
this is
actually
true.
aren't true believers.
No, I don't think that like neo-Nazis are just like super shallow. Like I think like they genuinely believe like their shit.
Okay, well, again,
It's bad shit, but they believe it. Right?
I've talked to there.
I've talked to them too.
Some of them, and they're okay. I'm more partially the Dominionism because I think they have a bigger chance to win.
I understand that, yeah.
And that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a better take, right? Like they had like religious thought has more control, like or more power in the country, right? Yeah.
Not power per se, but through the undemocraticness of the American system.
Definitely more power. Definitely more power.
Yeah.
Like in all measurable ways of power.
It's what makes me think like the big thing that would actually start the American Civil War is not guns, it's not race, it's actually like the right thing to try to prevent it would be de-Christianization or secularization of American society, which is a requirement for the modernization of the future of this country. But that is what would start a shootings war. be more than enough for-profit congregations that would try to rally their supporters to go firebomb federal buildings.
Okay. Well, hey man, we'll have this conversation. We will revisit on episode 2 of the Lactoid Agent Smith podcast, and we'll
I gotta choose a better name. I should put that for a poll or something.
yeah, have it be a poll. Have it be a poll for your
I don't
audience.
know. I'm terrible at names. As I say, I change my name every time. I don't know. I should pick one.
Change it. You can change it to Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski, right?
Kaczynski fan #1.
Yeah. Number Ted Kaczynski #1, right? Unabomber. It's
It's funny. Have you actually read his manifesto?
no, I haven't read his manifesto.
Manifesto.
I haven't read it. No, I know it's
Yeah,
like anarchism or whatever. Like, yeah.
No, it's not. It's
I
like
mean-
weird, like libertarian ruralism.
Yeah. Like kind of like like primitivism or whatever. Yeah, anarcho-primitivism. That's what Wikipedia says anyway.
Yeah, but you would. I think you should read it because I'm curious.
Uh-oh.
Well, no, because it is right wing. Like he talks, he uses the N word a lot in it.
I'm sure he does. Yeah, he moved to a remote cabin without electricity or water, and he lived as a recluse while learning survival skills.
He lived as a libertarian.
Wait, after watching the destruction of the wilderness surrounding his cabin, he concluded that living in nature was untenable, and he began his bombing campaign. Only began his bombing campaign when they started like chopping down the trees.
I mean,
I don't know. They're sounding pretty like Greenpeace shit now, huh?
sure. I mean, I think it's the environmental or green terrorism or environmental terrorism. Those people are psychopaths. They're as bad as like tankies. Like they miss the point.
Sure.
What all this is about. Like mentalism, I believe in like we should have like more like yes, people should be like don't abuse animals, but like more important things in the world than if pigs are kicked once before they're chopped up.
Jesus Christ.
Look, I mean that's
I know. I agree. No, I understand. Yeah.
I fundamentally value humanity, and
Yeah, I do
the
too.
reality is like there are bit more important things to disassemble than the moment.
I agree. Fuck animals. We don't need them.
Like the power relationship or lack of democracy in the workplace.
All right, Doc. All right. Shit. We're gonna. You're provoking me at this point.
It's probably midnight for you right now. Fuck, I'm so sorry. I
It's
forgot.
all good. Yeah, it's
Okay.
fucking late. All right, dog.
Okay,
I'll
This is good for okay. So I promise you, if we schedule it in the future, I will give you a serious podcast that will not fuck up. That we can have a serious discussion. We'll have bullet points up top.
Sure. No, sounds good. Current events, like go the whole like official podcast route or whatever.
And the debates. We didn't talk about the debates.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the debates. Yeah, we'll have to put that on the agenda for next time.
What podcast inspired you to do with this thing? Were you really inspired by Ben Shapiro?
For what?
Your
For
media thing.
oh no. So this has happened because like I was doing a lot of talking and then like I wanted to like solidify what my ideas were, and so like I was like writing in the pamphlet, and then I was like, well, you know, I kind of like I watch a lot of debates and I'll watch a lot of people talking, and I was like, well, maybe some people might be interested in what I have to say too. So I just wanted
Like,
to.
so were you inspired to do like a Dave Rubin kind of thing, or were you inspired to do
I never really watched Dave Rubin. I was more along the lines of like growing up. I watched I don't know, like I just watched like Intelligence Squared debates. I watched a lot of those. I think so. Some people who like some talkers, I think that are I don't know. I like even Destiny. I think was probably a pretty big influence like me doing this, and also like Ben Shapiro and yeah.
I find it fascinating that you're like, oh, my big inspiration is Destiny.
And Ben
Like,
Shapiro.
Destiny has like, well, yeah, no, I think hopefully I'll get you to see like Ben Shapiro. Like,
Sure,
it's
we'll
like,
see.
that's like he's
Uh-oh.
like he has motivated people to do mass shootings.
We'll have a very long debate on this one because this is something that.
That's not a debate I feel comfortable having in public.
Okay, we don't have to do it in
not-
public. Oh
Yeah,
shit.
I was inspired by try to do like a Dave Rubin thing. Or not Dave Rubin, like the idea would be like to be as like a lefty shitty version of Rogan focused around like more of the internet and less like instead of
Sure.
MMA fights, internet fights being the thing I'd be focused on like exploring. Like
Sure, I see. Yeah.
I already done one interview where I talked to a friend of mine who does not safe for work art on the internet, and they told me the entire story and legacy behind happened in the art porn hentai foundry sort of thing. And it was just like about Nazis. It was just like, what? This
That's
is
pretty
fascinating.
interesting. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was fascinating. It was just like, holy shit, this is like when you hear about like just the stories behind like about sports you never heard of in different countries.
Yeah, I'm not that interesting, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
No, we'll go over it again. This is a good conversation. It makes up for not talking in a while, so it was fun.
All right, dog. All right, homie. I'm gonna.
There, do your job, man.
Yep.
Kick names. Don't do anything terrible. Keep
Yeah.
the state tax. Talk about that.
Yep. Keep making some of that fatty capitalist money, and I'll hit you up later. All right.
Yeah. Hey, come to the land of the free in California.
All right. Peace.
Maybe me a lawyer's coming up.